simply because she possessed no magical power. As the imperial princess, she faced scorn and discrimination from everyone. Not only did she lose her right of succession, her illegitimate sister had stolen all of her father's love. Having lost everything, she gradually began to turn dark, her personality becoming increasingly cruel and tyrannical. Eventually, in her struggle for power, she used a bowl of poison to kill her own father with her own hands, but this also cost her own life. In the end, this princess who had committed such grave crimes was sent to the guillotine. At the command, the blade slowly rose, then fell with tremendous force. The platform was instantly stained crimson. The female protagonist, Xiao Yao, was originally the only daughter of the Xiao family, one of the 4 great houses. But she had been weak and sickly since childhood, requiring monthly hospital treatments. This day was scheduled for her surgery, but when she opened her eyes, she had transmigrated into an unfinished novel she had been reading, becoming the vicious supporting character Princess Afaluo in the book. The protagonist felt somewhat bewildered. Looking around, she found herself surrounded by unfamiliar scenery. Looking down, she saw a pair of pale, soft little hands. She could hardly believe her own eyes. Struggling to climb down from the bed with trembling movements, she ran with pattering steps to the mirror placed nearby, only to see a completely unfamiliar face, turning left, looking right. Unable to accept reality, Xiao Yao was so frightened that her legs gave out and she collapsed to the floor, unable to suppress a scream. Hearing the scream, the maids all rushed over in panic. Seeing the protagonist sitting on the ground, they hurriedly surrounded her, frantically checking her body, only relaxing after confirming she was unharmed. Thank goodness nothing happened, otherwise if Lord Neil found out. Hearing this familiar name, Xiao Yao quickly interrupted the maid's words. "Who did you just say would find out?" The maid replied, trembling, that it was Lord Neil, then persistently asked who she herself was. Hearing the confirmed name from the maid's mouth, "Your Highness, you are Princess Afaluo, the only princess of the Riefest Empire." Only then did she confirm that she had truly transmigrated. She had really become the vicious supporting character, with a tragic ending in the book. Just as Afaluo was struggling to accept reality, the door was opened. Accompanied by steady footsteps, a tall, imposing figure in a cloak walked in. Afaluo stared with wide, confused eyes. Could he be my father? The emperor in the novel was named Eratova, the youngest emperor of the Riefest Empire. Since ascending the throne at 19, he had begun leading troops to conquer in all directions. In just 10 years, he had doubled the territory of the nation. Under his rule, Riefest had reached unprecedented prosperity. Such a powerful monster possessed a face as beautiful as a god. Afaluo met his gaze. She felt a terrifying aura. A single look was enough to make everyone tremble with fear. No wonder the maids were so afraid of him. Eratova coldly inquired of the maids what had happened. Learning that it was a hostage who had upset the princess, he turned to look at Afaluo. Afaluo expected to receive a beating on behalf of the original owner. Unexpectedly, a pair of large hands gently touched her head. "Is there anywhere you feel uncomfortable?" His tone was exceptionally gentle and caring. Afaluo quickly shook her head. His expression toward Afaluo was gentle and caring. But when he turned away, his expression instantly became grim. "A mere hostage dares to upset the princess." He ordered someone to bring the hostage for questioning. Eratova waved his hand behind him. A man carrying a magic wand walked to Afaluo's front, using the wand to heal Afaluo's body. Afaluo's body gently floated up. "So, this is magic? What a miraculous feeling." After the treatment, Eratova approached Afaluo. "As long as you're fine," his tone remained gentle. In the novel, Eratova was described as a cold-blooded, ruthless tyrant. But seeing him now, he didn't seem to be such a terrifying existence. Just then, guards brought the hostage over. Watching him being roughly pushed down, Afaluo instinctively wanted to reach out to help. But realizing something was wrong, she quickly withdrew her small hand. So this was the Prince Weidie of the Serenity Kingdom from the book. Because of his naturally black hair and red eyes, he was considered ominous. At age 10, he was sent to Riefest as a hostage, reduced to a guard, suffering endless humiliation. At 12, he was sent back for offending Afaluo. The fate of an expelled hostage was predictable. At this moment, he was trembling as he knelt before the tall, mighty father, turning to see Afaluo standing to the side. Just like in the book, he glared at the princess with hateful eyes. Afaluo was frightened and stepped back. Just as she was about to speak, father noticed his gaze and stood in front of Afaluo. "A mere hostage dares to look at my daughter with such eyes?" He then declared that the boy's life would be taken to earn the princess's forgiveness. Seeing the boy's defiant expression, he further stated that the blood of all the people of the Serenity Kingdom would be needed to be more satisfying. Then he smiled contemptuously. "This is the consequence of angering me." Afaluo was shocked. Just because he looked at me directly, this person was enraged, even condemning an entire nation to death over such a trivial matter. No fairness or human rights. Laws replaced by political class hierarchy. No one dared resist the monarch's tyranny. What kind of world is this? If this person dies because of me, if war breaks out because of me. Afaluo clutched her clothes tightly. Would I not become one of those numb, cowardly people in the crowd? No. She gathered courage and approached her father to plead. "It was my carelessness, it has nothing to do with him." The boy looked back in astonishment. "Is she helping me?" Soon, a month had passed since that incident. Afaluo had also gradually accepted the fact of her transmigration. But recalling the emperor's expression that day still sent chills down her spine. Fortunately, the emperor had not pursued the matter further after that day. She couldn't believe she had dared to defy a tyrant in front of so many people. She had almost thought her brief new life was about to end. Afaluo silently felt sad for a moment, suddenly sensing that someone's gaze had been watching her. Turning around, she saw Weidie, who hadn't managed to look away in time. Afaluo smiled brightly, her beautiful large eyes sparkling. But from Weidie's perspective, Afaluo looked like a demon holding a spiked club with a malicious grin. He knelt down with a grave expression, lifting a face ready to face death. If this can bring peace to the people, let me make this final contribution for them. Afaluo was full of question marks. Although I don't know what you're thinking, it's definitely not what I have in mind. Based on observations during this time, Afaluo discovered that the original owner's personality was even worse than described in the book. Almost no one in the entire palace dared to speak with her. Even her personal maid was very wary of her. Afaluo was speechless. What kind of terrible child was the original owner? To escape the tragic ending of dying miserably, Afaluo resolved to change everything. She would start with the people closest to her. Afaluo walked to Weidie's front, extending her hand. Weidie closed his eyes, so it had come after all. But after waiting for a long time, nothing happened, and he slowly opened his eyes to see a pair of pale little hands in front of him, trying to help him up. Get up. Before Weidie could react, Afaluo continued. From now on, I will never hit or scold you again. I swear by my name as Imperial Princess. Seeing Afaluo's determined and serious expression, Weidie was stunned, unable to understand why the previously arrogant and willful princess had suddenly changed. Or was she playing some other trick? Weidie stood up by himself, not taking Afaluo's hand. The atmosphere instantly became somewhat awkward. Afaluo silently withdrew her hand. This should barely count as reconciliation. Just then, a handsome, elegant man walked in from outside, breaking the awkwardness. From the maid's surprised greeting, she learned. This man was Neil. In the original story, the only person who protected Afaluo from beginning to end. Whatever Afaluo said, he would do without question. Even when everyone else eventually fell for the female protagonist, he always stood by Afaluo's side, even willing to sacrifice his life for Afaluo. When Neil approached, Weidie glared at him with displeasure. There was a faint smell of gunpowder in the air. Neil ignored Weidie, turning to kneel on one knee in front of Afaluo. I have returned, Your Highness. And he also brought back news about the female protagonist. Looking at the materials Neil brought back, Afaluo recalled from the original story. The female protagonist of this novel was Emma Glo La Auroras, rumored to be the child born to the emperor in his youth with a merchant's daughter outside the palace. But shortly after Emma's birth, the merchant's family encountered misfortune. Young Emma also disappeared without a trace. The princess, who had been living among commoners, even though raised as a commoner, still could not diminish the nobility of royal blood. After returning to the palace, Emma quickly became the long princess praised by everyone. Even the emperor, cold as an iceberg, was melted by Emma, who was as warm and gentle as sunlight, except for Afaluo, because Afaluo was supposed to be the empire's only princess, but lost favor due to the female protagonist's appearance. Out of jealousy that the female protagonist had stolen her father's attention, she began opposing the female protagonist at every turn. One was the gentle and kind female protagonist. The other was the willful and vicious supporting character. The ending was predictable. At the story's end, the princess and prince lived happily together, while the scheming, malicious witch would die amid the world's contempt. Thinking of this, Afaluo couldn't help but shiver. Such an ending was too tragic. She thought in her heart that as long as she quietly stayed away from the female protagonist, she should be fine. But from Neil's perspective, worry was written all over Afaluo's pretty little face. His expression instantly darkened, just as he was about to speak. He heard Afaluo ask with anticipation, "When can I meet my sister?" Neil was confused by this sudden question. "Are you not angry?" Afaluo seriously stated that she would get along well with her sister. After all, who would be so reckless as to get angry with the female protagonist? The two seemed to be on completely different wavelengths. Neil thought for a moment, grimly stating, "I understand what you mean." "No, you don't understand at all." Afaluo hastily and frantically stated that she had no intention of asking him to harm her. But Neil hesitated to speak. "If we don't make plans early, you will only—" Afaluo didn't quite understand what he meant. Looking at Weidie and the maid nearby, their expressions all seemed somewhat strange. At this moment, Weidie suddenly snorted with laughter, drawing Afaluo's attention. "Why are you laughing?" Weidie avoided her gaze, but seeing Afaluo's persistent expression, he still hesitantly told her, "You seem unaware of what will happen." The atmosphere instantly became heavy. "You are the emperor's daughter. From birth, you must shoulder the responsibilities of royalty. If you cannot become a victor 100 times better than others, then your fate," Weidie's fists hanging at his sides trembled uncontrollably from the force, "will be the same as mine." Afaluo stared at him in a daze. Yes, Weidie had done nothing wrong either. Just because of his natural hair and eye color, he was branded with the mark of a curse, stripped of his heir status, exiled to an empire far from his homeland. Just for such an absurd reason, even a prince would suffer disaster. Not to mention me, this princess without magic who is seen as the empire's shame. Seeing Afaluo's anxious state, Neil quickly stepped forward to promise that he would never let such things happen. But seeing the princess still silent and speechless, he turned to glare at Weidie with dissatisfaction. Weidie broke out in cold sweat under Neil's gaze, somewhat awkwardly wanting to add something, but was interrupted by the now calm Afaluo. "I will prepare in advance, but not that kind of preparation." Because of her weak constitution in her previous life, she had thought that having a healthy body would allow her to live peacefully. But she was in a country where even the laws were incomplete, where even the smallest mistake could cost one's life. Indeed, she still couldn't control her own destiny. Afaluo felt somewhat dejected, but quickly rallied her spirits. How could she give up so easily? Even if she had transmigrated into a vicious supporting character, even if she was a tragic character unable to control her own fate, She would never accept such an ending. No matter what, she would change this tragic destiny. Through Afaluo's tireless efforts, she finally completed her villain self-to-rescue plan. First, she needed to study the history of this country properly. But to become a qualified princess, she needed more than just book knowledge. She also needed perfect etiquette. Besides that, dancing, horsemanship were all essential. Thinking of this, Afaluo instantly felt overwhelmed. But to escape the tragic ending in the book, she forced herself to rally. Since that's the case, let's start with the simplest implementation. Knowledge is always the most important thing. Although the novel mentioned that the emperor had arranged teachers for Afaluo, the Afaluo in the novel hadn't taken her studies seriously. It wasn't too late to start learning now. I must be more excellent than others. Then Afaluo began searching for a tutor. Weidie was too gentle to be suitable as a teacher. Neil also had other matters requiring his attention. So that left only, with Weidie's help, Afaluo quickly caught up with her original progress, even surpassing it. Although Weidie's attitude remained cold, he was much more competent than expected. As for etiquette, Neil found Duchess Callan, famous throughout the empire for her elegance, to serve as teacher. Now her etiquette could barely be considered passable. Besides that, as a princess, there were many other things she needed to learn daily. After a busy day, Afaluo's happiest moment was being able to eat various delicacies. Because her previous body was prone to illness and she couldn't eat carelessly. But the consequence of such unrestrained eating was weight gain. From that day forward, Weidie banned all sweets from appearing in Afaluo's palace. Having lost her sweets, Afaluo also lost her motivation. She attempted to use cute tactics to win over the little maid. Weidie's little heart went pitter-patter from the cuteness, instantly abandoning her principles. She prepared a table full of sweets for Afaluo. Afaluo's eyes sparkled with joy. Sweets really are the best. After eating and drinking her fill, Afaluo noticed that Weidie sitting across from her kept staring out the window. Turning to look, she saw several colorful kites floating outside the window. "Do you want to go out and play? He really is still just a child." She immediately clapped her hands excitedly and decided to go to the garden together to fly kites. Since the princess needed to change into specific clothes when going out, Weidie and Neil were sent outside, the two who couldn't stand each other. Coldly hummed and turned their heads away. Before long, Afaluo emerged wearing her new clothes, her pretty little face glowing with happy smiles. She ran toward the two with pattering steps. Both were stunned and dazzled. Weidie noticed Afaluo staring at him. Couldn't help but blush. Neil looked displeased, stepping forward to block between them. "Your Highness wants to fly kites. I've already had servants prepare everything in the garden." Afaluo's eyes lit up. She ran happily toward the garden. The moment she turned around, the two who couldn't stand each other began glaring at each other again. Afaluo's kite flew higher and higher. She couldn't help but show off to everyone. Neil and Weidie were generous with their praise. Afaluo listened with delight. "Truly worthy of me." This was her first time flying a kite. Running happily under the sunshine felt so wonderful, but in a moment of inattention, her kite was overtaken by Weidie's. Neil's face darkened. How dare he surpass her highness? He secretly let out string, knocking Weidie's kite aside, then mockingly faced Weidie. The scene instantly filled with tension, seeing the two's childish behavior. Afaluo couldn't help but laugh. She hadn't expected that Neil, who seemed cold and emotionless in the novel, had such a cute personality. "In that case, I can't show weakness either." Ignoring the two's competition, Afaluo began seriously flying her kite. Suddenly, the princess's kite string broke, and the kite fell accordingly. Weidie wanted to help retrieve it, but was stopped by Afaluo. "You all keep playing. I'll go get it myself." Without waiting for anyone to object, she ran toward where the kite had fallen. She pushed through the flower bushes, looking around inside for it. Suddenly, her eyes brightened. She spotted the kite that had fallen on the pavilion roof. She ran over excitedly, not expecting to find a girl sitting in the pavilion. Afaluo felt puzzled. This was a palace the emperor had specifically built for her to live in. Except for her servants and the emperor, no one else had ever entered. Afaluo observed carefully. This familiar silhouette. Could it be? It was like a bolt from the blue. This was the female protagonist from the novel, Emma Glo La Auroras. According to the novel's plot, she wasn't supposed to meet this person until the banquet 6 months later. Why had it been moved up? She wasn't prepared yet. Afaluo shook her head. She should just slip away. But heaven played a joke on her. With a crack, she stepped on a dry branch. Afaluo instantly froze. Her face darkened. "It's over, it's over." As expected, a voice came from behind. "Hello?" Afaluo stiffly turned around. The girl before her truly made her eyes light up. Beautiful golden hair fluttering in the wind, as if sunlight had fallen on her head. Eyes identical to the emperor's. This was the long princess of the empire from the novel, who had been living outside for years. But why would she appear here at this time? Had something gone wrong somewhere? "Your Highness, is something wrong?" Hearing the girl's voice, Afaluo came back to her senses. Couldn't help but clutch her skirt. Forcing a smile, she said, "Nothing, just curious why you're here." Emma looked delighted. "Your Highness actually knows me?" Afaluo looked directly into her eyes, those eyes that only royalty possessed. Hearing this, Emma realized and explained that she had only seen the beautiful flowers here, so she picked some to make flower arrangements. Thinking of giving this as a gift for our first meeting, Afaluo looked at Emma's smiling face. It truly wasn't without reason that everyone in the novel liked her. Even she herself wanted to be friends with her. Just then, Neil's voice suddenly came from behind. Borrowing her highness's flowers to give to her highness, Miss Emma really knows how to choose gifts. Hearing Neil's voice, neither of them had reacted yet. Then Weidie also emerged from the side. The guard dog immediately activated protective mode, seriously questioning. This is a palace His Majesty built for Her Highness. Others are not permitted to enter without permission. What are your intentions in trespassing? Emma was stunned by this. She quickly explained in panic. I'm sorry, I didn't know this was Her Highness's palace. I just saw the flowers blooming beautifully here and wanted to pick some as a gift for Her Highness. Her tone suddenly became dejected, as if remembering something. His Majesty had given me permission to move freely about the palace. I thought this was also a place I could enter. Since Emma hadn't been formally introduced yet, she couldn't call the Emperor father. She was supposed to be a princess, but had grown up in the commoner district, suffering cold stares and bullying. When you think about it, she was quite pitiful. Just then, His Majesty suddenly walked over. Why are you here? Afaluo turned to see the approaching Emperor with surprise. Why did he come? At this moment, Weidie poked her head out from behind the Emperor. Your Highness, we finally found you. Then ran to Afaluo's side. Did Your Highness find her kite? Only then did Afaluo remember she had come to find her kite. She pointed to the kite still hanging on the pavilion roof. Turning to see the Emperor standing before Emma, she instantly became excited. In the novel, this was the famous scene where the female protagonist meets the Emperor. She set up a little stool and waited to watch the drama unfold. But the two stared at each other for a long time, without saying a word. How could the plot develop if they said nothing? Just as Emma was about to call him father, Afaluo held a watermelon with an expectant expression. But unexpectedly, father showed a cold expression. Emma shrank back in fear, hastily changing to call him Your Majesty. I told you to stay in your palace and study properly during this time. Emma lowered her head. I'm very sorry. Then father walked straight past Emma, commanding guards to take her back. Emma anxiously wanted to say something more, but saw that father, who had just looked ice cold, crouched before Afaluo telling her not to worry, then took Afaluo's little hand preparing to leave. When turning around, he coldly said to Emma, without my permission, you are not to appear before the princess again. Emma nodded to indicate she understood. Afaluo looked back at Emma still standing there, her heart suddenly filled with an indescribable sadness. After returning, Afaluo looked at the fresh flowers Emma had sent over a few days ago on the table. She couldn't help but feel strange. Was she trying to curry favor in advance? But why? Unable to figure it out, she irritably pushed the papers in front of her aside, looking at the invitation placed to the side, thinking that in a few days would be the beginning of everything in the novel. At the magnificent banquet, Emma would be formally introduced by the Emperor to everyone, receiving everyone's adoration, becoming the Empire's long princess. While I would be ignored, due to unwillingness and jealousy, I would become the type of person everyone disliked. Thinking of this, Afaluo suddenly stood up. Although meeting Emma had been moved up somewhat, this didn't interfere with her plan. Most items on the plan checklist had been completed, only dancing remained. For the sake of her life, she must change her image in others' minds. Then she went to the garden wanting to find Neil to teach her dancing. But after looking around for a long time, she couldn't see Neil anywhere. She learned from Weidie that Neil had business outside today. Afaluo disappointedly expressed that it seemed Neil wouldn't be able to teach her dancing today. At this moment, Weidie saw Villainess passing by nearby, suggesting to Afaluo that if she wanted to practice dancing, there was another candidate. Then she smiled and waved at Villainess. Villainess looked at Heidi's kind smile and felt an ominous premonition. The two stood at a great distance apart. Afaluo hadn't expected that the other candidate Weidie mentioned was actually Villainess. But Villainess could indeed teach her dancing. After all, he had once been a prince, only to be sent as a hostage, becoming her guard. Villainess clenched his fists and sighed, walking forward to invite Afaluo. Your Highness, shall we begin? Villainess' sudden invitation surprised Afaluo. At the same time, her heart inexplicably felt nervous. But she still took Villainess' hand and began to dance gracefully. She felt that this world's dancing wasn't much different from the waltz of her previous life. Her waltz in the previous life had also been quite good. It seemed dancing wouldn't be a problem either. While thinking, she suddenly noticed Villainess' black hair and red eyes. This type of character was either an important supporting character, or the ultimate villain. How could he die after appearing so briefly? But she had heard from Weidie that Villainess was considered an ominous existence in their country. Black hair and red eyes, rather similar to the vampires described in novels from her previous life. Lost in thought, Afaluo was careless and nearly fell. Fortunately, Villainess was quick to catch her, but she still accidentally stepped on Villainess' foot. Her little face instantly turned red as she apologized embarrassedly. Just then, the door was suddenly pushed open. Neil walked in questioning, if your Highness wanted to learn dancing, why didn't you wait for my return? Afaluo expressed that Villainess' teaching was also quite good. At this moment, Villainess suddenly released Afaluo's hand. Since Lord Neil has returned, I shall take my leave. As he left, the two men's gazes met. Sparks flew with thick tension, while Afaluo was full of question marks. In the early morning, the sound of horses' hooves echoed continuously throughout the castle. People coming to attend the banquet arrived in endless streams. Villainess stood guard at Afaluo's door. Different images of Afaluo suddenly flashed through his mind. He blushed and shook his head. While inside the room, Afaluo still lay in bed, unwilling to get up. The sunshine was bright outside. On such a beautiful day, she really should sleep some more. Thinking this, she rolled over and continued sleeping. Suddenly, the door was forcefully pushed open by Neil. Afaluo was startled and sat up. Neil checked the time, waving his hand behind him. A group of maids swarmed forward, step by step. Afaluo shrank, trembling in the corner. What are you going to do? From Afaluo's perspective, they looked like a group of demons extending their evil claws, ready to ruthlessly torment her. Then the room filled with clanging sounds. Villainess was about to go in to check, but was blocked at the door by the smiling Weidie. I'm powerless to help now. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from nearby. The two turned to look, and saw Emma, already dressed and made up, wearing a pink gown. The two respectfully bowed to Emma. I thought I saw someone who looked like Lord Weidie from afar. I didn't expect it really was you. She suddenly moved closer to Weidie. Why are you here? Princess Afaluo should need your help by her side, shouldn't she? Weidie silently stepped back several paces, creating distance. Thank you for your concern, Miss Emma. You must have important business to be passing through here? Emma was about to speak when she was interrupted by a guard nearby, who whispered something in her ear. Then Emma expressed that she had matters to attend to and left first. Weidie watched her retreating figure thoughtfully. Heidi suddenly said it felt like she came specifically for you. Weidie turned and left, who knows. Inside the room, the lifeless Afaluo put on her beautiful new outfit. But due to her unrestrained eating in recent times, her body had obviously gained weight. She could only suck in her breath forcefully. To manage to button up the clothes, Afaluo sighed in relief, seeing Neil standing nearby. She hastily and frantically expressed that she was dieting and hadn't eaten much. She absolutely couldn't admit to secretly eating an ice cream yesterday. At this moment, Weidie and Heidi walked in, seeing the beautiful little princess. Heidi couldn't help but praise that her highness was simply the goddess muse. Afaluo shyly lowered her head. That's quite an exaggeration. Heidi expressed disbelief and said she could ask Lord Weidie. Afaluo looked expectantly toward Weidie. Weidie stared at her intently, unable to stop himself from saying she was truly beautiful. After coming to his senses, he blushed and turned his head away. Afaluo looked back expectantly. What does Neil think? Neil looked at her seriously, as if seeing another person through Afaluo. Very much like... Afaluo looked puzzled. Did Neil just say very much like... Very much like what? But then she shook her head. Forget it. Let's set aside these questions for now. The upcoming ball was what mattered most. At the dazzling banquet, people came and went continuously. Everyone had arrived. Duke Witova also made his characteristically handsome entrance. Everyone gathered around him. The chatter of others caught his attention, about the long princess who had been living outside returning to the palace recently. Someone nearby, seeing his confused expression, explained that she had been brought into the palace immediately after that incident. The little princess hadn't shown her face since then. The Duke stroked his chin thoughtfully. Who told her to be so useless, a worthless waste? Perhaps this banquet was to announce the long princess's identity. She turned around with an expectant look and asked, What does your grace think? The Duke did not give a definitive answer, only responding with an ambiguous statement. At this moment, the Emperor had finished adjusting his attire, and turned to ask the girl beside him, Are you ready? Upon hearing an affirmative reply, he took her hand, and walked toward the banquet hall. Suddenly, a voice announced His Majesty and Her Highness are entering, and everyone stopped their conversations, looking expectantly toward the entrance. At this moment, they saw His Majesty Erotova la Auroris, leading Princess Afaluo as they slowly approached. The woman who had been gossiping just moments before changed her expression. He's not entering with the eldest princess? Everyone bowed in succession, while whispers filled the hall below. I thought he would enter with his illegitimate daughter, the eldest princess, but unexpectedly he's holding Afaluo's hand. However, the intimidating father silenced the crowd below, with just one look. Afaluo looked at him in amazement, truly worthy of being the emperor of the continent's greatest empire, silencing everyone with just a glance. The father noticed Afaluo trembling with some fear, so he tightened his grip on her small hand, and gently comforted her. Don't mind those people. In the original novel, the father was a cold-blooded and cruel person, but he was infinitely gentle toward his daughter, and even until his death, he never harbored any resentment toward Afaluo. Or such a wonderful person, how could Afaluo bear to... Afaluo thought silently to herself. In this life, let me be your daughter. At this moment, the father formally announced to everyone, The eldest princess who was lost abroad has returned. Music began to play. Everyone started dancing gracefully, exchanging conversations, laughing and chatting, creating a lively atmosphere. Meanwhile, Afaluo sat bored in her seat, eating sweets. Although she was a princess, her father had told her she didn't need to go down and socialize with those people. Down below, Emma was laughing and chatting with everyone, earning the affection of many people. In contrast, she sat high above, with everyone avoiding her whenever they saw her, leaving people with only these impressions. Spoiled, willful, and violent. How can I execute my comeback plan like this? Afaluo was still boredly eating small cakes, when a guard suddenly approached and whispered something in her father's ear. The father's expression changed. Then he turned to look at Afaluo, gently stroking her head. Wait here for me, I'll be back soon. With that, he left the banquet. Afaluo finished her last bite of dessert. Now I can finally start my comeback plan. Afaluo looked around searching for a target, turning to find Emma surrounded by a circle of people. Truly worthy of being the female lead. I definitely can't go over to the female lead's side. She turned and walked toward the other direction. At this moment, Emma suddenly noticed the empty throne above, and was somewhat stunned, but quickly snapped back to attention at others' calls, continuing her conversations. Wherever Afaluo walked, people moved aside to avoid her. I wonder if they're avoiding me as a princess, or avoiding me as an evil person without magic. Afaluo finally found her target with great difficulty. She took a deep breath, adjusted her composure, and prepared to greet the three people elegantly. But before she could finish speaking, The three people scattered and disappeared without a trace. Afaluo stood there awkwardly stunned for a few seconds. It seems that in this world, having no magic is no different from having a contagious disease. Even princesses without magic face discrimination. Living in such an environment, no wonder the original character turned out so badly. She then clenched her fists and regrouped. Since socializing won't work, I'll try dancing. So she hurriedly searched for a suitable dance partner, and suddenly spotted Weidie hiding in the corner. Weidie also noticed Afaluo at this moment, and quickly turned his head away. Although Afaluo found it strange that Weidie would appear here, she thought to herself, isn't this a ready-made dance partner? Seeing Afaluo approaching with a mischievous smile, Weidie bowed, and turned to leave hastily. But he ran, she chased. And eventually he was caught. Afaluo curtsied elegantly. Would I have the honor of inviting you to dance? Then she looked at him expectantly with adorable pleading eyes. Weidie sighed helplessly and accepted graciously. It would be my honor, Your Highness. As beautiful music began to play, the two danced gracefully, instantly becoming the center of everyone's attention. I didn't expect Her Highness to dance so well, when before she was absolutely terrible. Like a beautiful butterfly dancing, every gesture carries an elegant grace. At this moment, Sister Emma also noticed them, and not to be outdone, began dancing as well. Everyone exclaimed in amazement, the eldest princess has only been back for a short time, yet she dances so magnificently. No wonder the younger princess works so hard. Soon 2 groups in the dance floor began showcasing their skills, becoming the stars of the banquet. At this moment, Afaluo quietly asked her question in the dance floor. Why is Weidie here? Weidie indicated that Neil had sent him. Afaluo was puzzled. What did he send you here for? Weidie recalled Neil's instructions. Your only task today is to protect Her Highness. And if I find you daring to lay a finger on Her Highness... Neil made a threatening throat-slitting gesture with a sinister expression. Weidie shook his head, snapping back from the memory, and saw Afaluo's questioning look. Nothing, just a mission. Afaluo sighed. Another mission to protect me? Weidie nodded. As expected, Afaluo thought to herself. But fortunately, Weidie is here. The plan is proceeding smoothly. Everyone's impression of me is starting to change. It seems I'm not far from turning things around. At this moment, Afaluo noticed Emma nearby. With her beautiful dance steps, elegant and graceful movements, she couldn't help but admire. Truly worthy of being the female lead, her dancing is incredible. Completely unimaginable that she once lived in the commoner district. Afaluo suddenly thought about the time she arrived here, which coincided with when Emma was brought back. This means I've been learning to dance for the same amount of time as her. Looking at Emma's elegant dance posture, I need to work even harder. At this moment, Weidie noticed Afaluo's emotions. Your Highness, you don't need to compare yourself to others. Afaluo looked at Weidie with a touched expression. Just as she was lost in thought, Weidie sensed something was wrong. Weidie swept Afaluo into his arms, dodging Emma who had suddenly fallen. Emma crashed hard onto the floor. Afaluo found herself in Weidie's embrace, looking left and right, blushing with embarrassment, not understanding what had suddenly happened. Everyone immediately erupted in shocked discussion. Weidie looked coldly at Emma. Princess Emma, please be more careful when dancing next time. Don't let yourself fall. You nearly collided with Her Highness just now. This statement caused an uproar among the crowd. Did Princess Emma do it on purpose? What's the point of dancing if you haven't mastered the skill? Hearing these discussions, Emma lowered her head somewhat helplessly. At this moment, Afaluo suddenly stepped forward, walked in front of Emma, and extended her hand to help her up. Sister, are you all right? That fall must have hurt. Everyone was somewhat surprised to see this scene. Emma's knight suddenly swatted Afaluo's hand away. Your Highness needn't put on such an act here. If you hadn't dodged, how would Princess Emma have fallen? Afaluo was instantly speechless. What kind of ridiculous logic is that? If I hadn't dodged, I would have been her human cushion. At this moment, Weidie stepped forward to shield Afaluo. The two faced off against each other, and the atmosphere immediately became tense. Suddenly, the sound of clicking footsteps came from behind. It was the Emperor arriving. Everyone bowed, while His Majesty walked directly to Afaluo. What happened? Afaluo shook her head, indicating it was nothing. The Emperor looked sternly at Weidie nearby. Weidie immediately knelt down to explain the situation. Emma's knight, however, turned the tables and threw dirt at Afaluo. It was clearly Her Highness who nearly collided with Princess Emma. Afaluo was speechless. This ability to shift blame. If I weren't the person involved, I might have believed it. The father turned to ask Emma, is this true? Emma showed a helpless expression. It was just my carelessness. It has nothing to do with my sister. Hearing such a calculated response, Afaluo froze in place, nervously looking at her father. Surely he wouldn't believe this. However, the father said coldly, if you can't dance, then don't dance. He even seemed prepared to end the banquet. Then he turned to look at Weidie, failing to protect the princess properly. This is your second dereliction of duty. Weidie knelt down silently. The father was about to punish Weidie. Seeing this, Afaluo quickly stepped forward and grabbed her father's sleeve, explaining, if Weidie hadn't pulled me away in time, I would have been hit just now. Then she used her ultimate weapon of acting cute. The two stared at each other for a while. Afaluo thought nervously, is it not working anymore? The Emperor finally sighed, compromised helplessly, and announced the banquet would continue. Then he picked up Afaluo and left. Afaluo waved carefully at Villainess from behind, signaling him to leave quickly. The Emperor carried Afaluo to the restroom, crouched in front of her and gently touched her cheek. "Are you really all right at the banquet?" Afaluo smiled brightly. "Really, I'm fine." The Emperor patted her head. "In the future, if you don't like these kinds of banquets, you can skip them all." Afaluo stared at her father. "This is the first time someone has told me that if I don't like it, I can skip those annoying banquets. Here, someone is willing to protect me and tell me I don't have to go." Afaluo smiled happily. "All right, father." So the two happily enjoyed sweets in the room. Suddenly there was a knock at the door. A servant's voice came from outside. "Your Majesty, Duke Witova requests an audience." The Emperor was somewhat displeased at having his warm family time interrupted, and asked Afaluo, "Do you want to see him?" Afaluo recalled from the novel that Duke Witova was the biggest winner. He was the one who helped the male and female protagonists ascend to the throne. Such a person with deep scheming, I don't want to face him. So she acted pitifully and coquettishly with the Emperor. The Emperor chuckled helplessly and rubbed Afaluo's head. "Her Highness is feeling unwell and needs rest. We won't see visitors." At this moment, the Duke and Emma outside the door also heard the Emperor's voice. "Since Her Highness is feeling unwell, we'll come visit another day." With that, the Duke put his arm around Emma's shoulder. "Let's go back." Emma clenched her fists unwillingly, but still silently followed him. The Duke looked at the silent Emma, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. A few days later, Afaluo looked at the invitation on the table, somewhat confused. "Father thinks I enjoy socializing and arranged a tea party for me?" Hearing Neil's affirmative answer, she became somewhat frantic. Could it be from the conversation a few days ago when I casually said, "I don't dislike making friends and get along well with others"? I clearly only said I don't dislike making friends. Afaluo covered her forehead in despair, but suddenly thought, isn't this the perfect opportunity to change everyone's impression of me? Last time at the banquet, I was taken away early by father, and the plan wasn't fully implemented. She clenched her fists and made a secret vow. This time, I must succeed. After confirming the tea party would be held, the next day, 3 people went to the market to shop for gifts. Afaluo looked around excitedly, finally getting out once. Fortunately, I had the excuse of preparing gifts for the tea party guests. Otherwise, father wouldn't have agreed to let me leave the palace. However, Afaluo suddenly remembered that when she was acting coquettishly with father to go out, a guard suddenly announced visitors. Father immediately became serious, then patted Afaluo's head. "It seems there's no way I can accompany you." Someone who could make the Emperor set aside Afaluo. She then shook her head. "Never mind, whoever it is has nothing to do with me. Let's just enjoy shopping happily." At this moment, Neil pointed to an item in front of a shop and asked for Afaluo's opinion. Afaluo curiously approached and saw the ruby jewelry in Neil's hand. "It's beautiful, it can be used as a gift for the tea party." Neil then generously declared, "We'll take everything." Before Afaluo could react, the shop owner had already finished packaging everything swiftly. At this moment, Villainess's voice suddenly came from behind. "We'll take all of these too." Afaluo turned around stiffly, only to see Villainess standing in front of a pile of goods. The people in the market seemed to have discovered fat sheep ready for slaughter, and began recommending their products. Villainess and Neil, these two idiots, started competing again out of jealousy. This made Afaluo explode on the spot. "This isn't the kind of shopping and gift-picking I wanted." Then she huffed angrily and ran toward the crowd, quickly escaping. Afaluo, hiding in the corner, finally shook off the two of them, and breathed a sigh of relief. At this moment, a handkerchief was suddenly extended from beside her. "Are you all right?" Afaluo turned to look, and saw a hooded man suddenly appear before her eyes. When the hood was removed, Afaluo finally saw the person's face clearly, and couldn't help but be stunned. How can someone be so good-looking? Weidie and the others are also handsome and attractive, but none of them have this kind of holy quality. This must be the legendary angel. What's wrong? Hearing the question, Afaluo snapped back to reality, accepted the handkerchief, wiped the sweat from her forehead, while secretly observing the person in front of her. Someone like him resembles the male protagonist from the original book, that son of the temple. Could this be the male protagonist? Afaluo gripped the handkerchief tightly, forcing herself to stay calm. "Thank you for the handkerchief. I'll wash it clean and return it to you." The boy smiled slightly, and pointed to the small house ahead. "I live there. You can come find me if you need anything." Afaluo looked in that direction, and saw a sign reading Divination House on the building, and asked curiously, "Are you a fortune teller?" The boy thought for a moment. "Strictly speaking, I should be an astrologer. I observe the stars." Seeing Afaluo's curious and surprised expression, he invited her, "If you're interested, would you like to try?" Afaluo followed the boy into the house, and the boy took out a deep blue crystal ball to divine for her. Afaluo watched the crystal ball nervously and excitedly, as the boy spread his hands, silently chanting spells and activating the crystal ball. The crystal ball emitted a bright light, and both Afaluo and the boy looked at it seriously. Suddenly, the crystal ball emitted several strong lights, making crack-crack-crack sounds, and several fissures appeared. Afaluo turned away and covered her eyes, not daring to look directly. Then with a crash, the crystal ball completely shattered. Looking at the broken crystal ball, Afaluo clenched her hands, feeling uneasy. "Does this mean I'll have great misfortune?" The crystal ball shattered. How unlucky must that be? The boy looked at the crystal ball's remains with interest. There's something very intriguing about you. Afaluo looked confused. What do you mean? Am I going to die? The boy said, someone has placed a very strong restriction on you. The crystal ball shattered because whoever placed the restriction on you doesn't allow me to divine for you. Afaluo asked anxiously, who placed the restriction on me? Why would they do this? The boy shook his head, indicating he wasn't sure. Perhaps someone did it to protect you. Then he smiled slightly, or maybe for other reasons, I don't know. Afaluo looked disappointed. I only wanted to try divination for fun, but not only did the divination fail, I discovered there's a restriction on me. At this moment, the boy suddenly moved closer to Afaluo. Afaluo panicked and raised her hands to push him away. What's wrong? The boy looked at Afaluo seriously. The restriction on you feels familiar. Afaluo turned her head away awkwardly. Looking at the boy's increasingly close face, she panicked completely. Help me, is there anyone who can save me? Just as the boy's hand was about to touch Afaluo's collar, there was suddenly a bang at the door. Both turned to look simultaneously, and saw Weidie standing at the door with a dark expression, fiercely declaring, take your filthy hands off her! Afaluo ran to Weidie like she had seen a savior. She ran to Weidie. How did you find me? Weidie looked apologetic. I'm sorry, Your Highness, I failed to protect you. Afaluo quickly waved her hands, indicating she didn't blame him. It's my fault for running around. If I hadn't run around, I wouldn't have encountered this charlatan. Weidie then protected Afaluo behind him, looking like he was seeking justice. Who are you? The boy smiled lightly and innocently declared, don't misunderstand, I'm just an ordinary astrologer at this divination house. Afaluo thought with a black line, as if I'd believe you're ordinary. Weidie apologized. I'm very sorry for disturbing your shop. Thank you for taking care of my young lady. Then he suddenly grasped Afaluo's hand. But I need to take my young lady back now. The boy chuckled and walked up to Afaluo. I apologize for startling you earlier, miss. Then he produced a necklace from behind, as an apology. Please accept this lucky necklace as compensation. Afaluo hastily declined, saying she didn't need it. Weidie then led her away. At this moment, the boy behind them smiled mysteriously. You will need it! At the same time, the necklace in the box disappeared. The two walked along the market street, and Afaluo looked at Weidie, who was walking with a stern face without saying a word, and quietly called his name. Weidie looked full of regret. I'm sorry, Your Highness. As your guard, I failed to protect you. Afaluo quickly shook her hands. No. Weidie came at just the right time. At this moment, Neil came running from the distance. Afaluo suddenly thought of the restriction the boy had mentioned. What was that about? She was about to ask Neil. But seeing the bustling street full of people, she dismissed the idea. Never mind. I'll ask about this kind of thing when we get back. Afaluo walked forward a few steps, then suddenly turned to look at Weidie behind her, holding the hand that Weidie had just held, wondering, why do I feel a bit disappointed? That evening, after a tiring day, Afaluo counted the gifts prepared for tomorrow, and after confirming everything was in order, went to bed. Just as Afaluo was sleeping soundly, a figure suddenly appeared beside her bed. Afaluo was awakened by this sudden bright light, and upon opening her eyes discovered a beautiful woman floating beside her bed, softly calling her name. Afaluo looked at the woman before her in shock, and quickly backed away. Who are you? Intruding into the princess's chambers at night is punishable by death. At this moment, the woman suddenly reached out her hand toward her. Afaluo retreated in fear, and accidentally hit her head. Someone who can avoid the guards and appear in my chambers is definitely not ordinary. Could it be an assassin? Afaluo closed her eyes in fear, thinking she was going to die. But the woman gently caressed her cheek. Afaluo looked at her questioningly. Who exactly are you? At this moment, a mysterious force separated the two. Afaluo reached out trying to grab hold, but the woman disappeared with the wind. Just then, Neil outside the door heard Afaluo's voice and pushed the door open. Afaluo looked at the suddenly vanished woman, somewhat puzzled. Is this some kind of magic too? Neil gently asked Afaluo. Did you have a nightmare? Afaluo waved her hand. I'm fine, Neil. Go back to sleep. But Neil offered to keep watch for Afaluo, in case she had another nightmare and could call him directly. The next day, due to the mysterious woman's sudden intrusion, Afaluo spent the entire night thinking about her, and with insufficient sleep, kept yawning. Afaluo turned to look at Neil behind her. We're both people who stayed up all night. Neil watched over me all night. Why is he still so energetic? Before Afaluo could figure it out, a maid informed her that the gathering was ready. Arriving at the gathering venue, Emma's side was full of laughter and conversation, while her own side was completely empty. It seems my performance at that dance had no effect at all. At this moment, a voice suddenly came to her ear. May I sit here? Afaluo looked delighted. Finally, someone came to sit with me. The people across from them looked at them with surprise and wariness. Afaluo quietly asked the girl, Aren't you afraid of me? The girl asked puzzledly, Why should I be afraid of you? Afaluo thought seriously, because everyone says I'm spoiled, willful, arrogant, and domineering. But the girl said, Are you? Afaluo shook her head. Then that's settled. Afaluo clenched her hands. But I have no magic power. She looked at the girl nervously. The girl acted nonchalant. So what? Afaluo looked at her with emotion. Besides Weidie and the others, this is the first person I've met in this world. Who doesn't care whether I have magic power or not? Emma across from them looked at the two chatting and laughing, and her expression instantly darkened. Emma looked up with a bright smile. Since the last young lady has arrived, shall we begin the tea party? Only then did Afaluo realize. Looking at Emma, she thought, why does it feel like Emma is the star of this tea party? But I won't admit defeat because of this. At least one person believes in me. So the banquet officially began. Afaluo signaled to Weidie, and the maids brought out gifts one by one. These are the gifts I prepared for everyone. Thank you all for coming to my tea party. Everyone looked at each other, not expecting the arrogant and domineering princess to have prepared gifts for them. Afaluo quickly said, you can open them and take a look. But still no one moved. Afaluo felt disappointed. Won't they even accept my gifts? At this moment, the girl next to Afaluo opened her box and looked surprised at the whip inside. Afaluo explained, Miss of General Aztec, you've practiced martial arts since childhood and love whips. I thought this ruby-decorated whip would be most suitable for Miss Blair. A mocking laugh suddenly came from nearby. How could anyone give such a crude thing to a noble lady as a gift? But Blair coughed lightly and said word by word, I love it very much. Then others opened their gift boxes and found they contained exactly what they wanted, couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Afaluo also breathed a sigh of relief. It seems everyone likes them very much. All my research into everyone's preferences wasn't in vain. Eliminating everyone's prejudice is just around the corner. At this moment, Afaluo noticed that Emma had been looking at the gift in front of her without opening it, and asked, Sister, won't you open it to take a look? Emma smiled, No need. Any gift from your highness must be excellent. Afaluo looked at everyone chatting and laughing, and couldn't help but sigh. Looking at these young ladies, I feel like I'm becoming more elegant, too. At this moment, a lady holding the book Afaluo had given her came forward to ask, Has your highness read this book too? Afaluo instantly froze. The lady excitedly said, I didn't expect your highness to have read this book too. Afaluo waved her hands frantically. I'm not. I haven't. Don't talk nonsense. She replied somewhat awkwardly, Actually, I haven't read this book yet. At this moment, Blair helped her out. Her highness is only 12 years old, just beginning to study elementary books. Afaluo looked at her gratefully. Yes, that's right. The lady apologized profusely, but her next sentence was still about reading. Afaluo looked at her stiffly. This child must be a bookworm. Then everyone enthusiastically discussed the contents of books, but Afaluo couldn't get a word in. I've been focusing on learning noble etiquette recently, but I neglected that a real princess also needs to learn knowledge. I can't be all appearance and no substance. To become a qualified imperial princess and shake off the title of waste, I must learn all the knowledge a princess should learn. Only then can I control my own destiny. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, Afaluo was already 14 years old. This day was Afaluo's 14th birthday banquet. At the lively and magnificent banquet, everyone eagerly presented their gifts to Afaluo. Looking at the crowd competing to approach her, Afaluo felt somewhat overwhelmed. At this moment, Emma took her arm. The dance has begun. You promised to dance the first dance with me. As the music began to play, the two walked to the dance floor and danced gracefully. Everyone watched them in amazement. I didn't expect both your highnesses to choose to dance together. I was hoping to invite her highness to dance. Afaluo felt somewhat helpless. I've heard no fewer than 6 people wanting to invite me to dance. Fortunately, I cleverly chose to dance with Emma. Otherwise, I really wouldn't know how to refuse. After the dance ended, the two smiled at each other. At this moment, applause suddenly came from nearby. Both your highness's dancing is truly a feast for the eyes. Emma curtsied elegantly. Duke Witova, it's a pleasure to see you. Hearing this name, Afaluo thought of the original book where Duke Witova la Euroris was the emperor's younger brother, gentle and refined with graceful manners. In the novel, he helped the male and female protagonists many times, and it was also he who exposed Afaluo's attempt to poison the emperor and sent her to the execution platform. Afaluo clenched her fists and thought secretly, now that I'm behaving myself, I shouldn't be sent to the execution platform again. Watching the two exchange pleasantries, she suddenly remembered that Emma was brought back by the Duke. The book Duke sent a few days ago. Emma likes it very much, but the book is a bit difficult. Emma is still struggling to read it. The Duke smiled slightly. It's all right. Princess Emma can study that book slowly. Emma bit her lip, lowered her eyes and responded quietly. Afaluo looked at the two acting strangely. Why do I feel like these two are speaking in code? At this moment, the Duke bowed to take his leave, and after walking a few steps, suddenly turned back to say to Afaluo, The gift has been delivered to your highness's room. Your highness should like it very much. Afaluo thanked him politely, while breathing a sigh of relief. Finally, he's gone. Talking to him is too exhausting. That evening, Afaluo lay exhausted on her bed, while Neil nearby reminded her that the gifts hadn't been opened yet. Looking at the gifts piled up like a small mountain, Afaluo rubbed her forehead helplessly. Call Weidie and Weidie, let's open them together. Weidie unwrapped a gemstone, and Weidie recognized it. This is the church's holy stone. Neil checked the information. It's from Duke Witova. Afaluo looked at the holy stone, completely puzzled. What does he mean by sending me this? Neil recalled. I heard that when the Duke brought Princess Emma back, when His Majesty was giving rewards, he wanted nothing else, only asked for the church's holy stone. Afaluo thought seriously for a moment, then gave up thinking, never mind, if I can't figure it out, I'll just keep it for now. The next day, Afaluo was writing thank you letters for the gifts she received, when suddenly a dazzling light emanated from the drawer. Afaluo opened the drawer and found the holy stone inside glowing brightly. While the bookshelf also emitted the same light, Afaluo went forward and moved the books from the bookshelf, and discovered there was actually a groove behind it. Looking at the holy stone in her hand, she thought for a moment and placed it in the groove. The holy stone instantly emitted a blinding light, and Afaluo quickly turned away and covered her eyes. At that moment, the bookshelf began to tremble, and then surprisingly opened to reveal a secret passage. Afaluo was somewhat startled, calmed her emotions, and slowly walked into the secret passage. Arriving at the depths of the passage, Afaluo gazed at the patterns on the door, inexplicably feeling a sense of familiarity. Pushing open the door, inside appeared to be an ordinary study. Afaluo picked up a book from the table and discovered it was a theological text. Most humans are born with either magic or divine power, distinguished by strength, with divine power being relatively rare. Due to their bloodline, nobles and royalty mostly possess extremely powerful magic. Those with magical power are called mages and warriors, while those with divine power learn and undergo examinations to enter the church as priests. Afaluo looked around, noticing that most items here were related to theology, wondering if there might be some connection to the church. At that moment, Afaluo noticed a gleaming stone on the table, picked it up out of curiosity, and the stone suddenly emitted a brilliant light. Within the radiance appeared the mysterious woman who had been by her bedside before. Afaluo stared at her in a daze, realizing she was actually her mother who had passed away 10 years ago. She was as beautiful and enchanting as an angel, gently caressing Afaluo's cheek. Happy birthday, my child. Afaluo stood frozen in place, tears slowly welling up in her eyes, unable to believe this was real. Reached out to touch her, but her hand passed right through her mother's body. Her mother explained that this was merely a recorded image, preserved through divine power. Afaluo lowered her head sadly, I thought. Her mother gently touched her head in comfort. Don't be sad, child. The fact that you found this place means you're already 14 years old. At the same time, her mother revealed the secret that had been hidden within Afaluo for 14 years. From her mother's words, she learned that she had once been a saint of the church, and even before Afaluo's birth, she had sensed powerful magical fluctuations within the unborn child, along with a faint sacred aura. You will be the first person on this continent to possess both magic and divine power simultaneously, but this special ability will undoubtedly bring you countless dangers. Therefore, I forcibly sealed your divine power and left behind these books and treasures. Only when you reach the age of 14 can you open this chamber, master divine power, and protect yourself. So she wasn't without magical power after all, and it was quite powerful at that. She wasn't the worthless princess everyone called her. Afaluo suddenly remembered what the fortune teller had said about a restriction, wondering if the restriction he mentioned was the same as her mother's seal. Afaluo tossed and turned restlessly in bed, not knowing how to break the restriction. She could only continue learning to strengthen herself, hoping to eventually break through the seal. At this time, before the tall statue of the saint, a hooded man spoke in low tones to someone behind him. Do not disappoint our master. The young man behind him lifted his head, and it was actually the astrologer Afaluo had encountered before. In the morning, Afaluo absent-mindedly ate her breakfast. These past few days she had practically searched through the entire study, but couldn't find any method to break the restriction, and sighed helplessly. At that moment, her father suddenly announced, Tomorrow you and Emma will travel together to the Imperial Academy to study. Afaluo looked up in surprise. So soon? Has the plot already progressed to this point? In the room, Neil and Heidi seemed determined to pack everything in the entire room. Afaluo was somewhat helpless. Actually, we don't need to bring so much. Neil and Heidi refused in unison. Your Highness's luggage must be thoroughly prepared. We cannot let your Highness suffer while away. Afaluo held her forehead helplessly, noticing Weidie nearby, remembering he would accompany them to the academy as a guard. But where was his luggage? Weidie simply lifted the sword at his side, indicating that all his belongings were right there. Afaluo's expression darkened. What kind of luggage was that? Then she noticed several suitcases on the floor. These were Weidie's actual luggage. Neil was somewhat displeased. If your Highness wishes to pack his luggage, I could prepare it myself. Why must you personally handle it? Afaluo appeared unconcerned. No need for such formality. Caring for those around me is also a princess's duty. Weidie was momentarily stunned upon hearing this, then expressed his gratitude with a slightly flushed face. Afaluo smiled gently. It's nothing at all. The next day, the group waited by the entrance. Afaluo quietly asked Emma beside her with confusion, Aren't we going to the academy? Why haven't we departed yet? Emma explained. The church representatives said they need to perform blessings for the princess's journey, so we're waiting for them to arrive. At that moment, a commotion of footsteps came from the entrance. A group of people in blue robes approached. These were the church emissaries. The leading man removed his hood. It's been a long time. Both princesses have grown so tall. Afaluo looked at him with confusion. Have I met him before? At that moment, Emma beside her quietly tugged at her sleeve. Only then did Afaluo come to her senses. Lifting her skirt to curtsy, the man appeared hurt. After such a long time, Princess Afaluo has nearly forgotten me. Afaluo looked speechless. I only transmigrated here at 12 years old, and he hasn't appeared even once in 2 years. Plus this person was never mentioned in the novel. How could I possibly know him? At this time, the emperor stepped forward, indicating they could begin. The high priest raised his staff and approached Afaluo. Your Highness, please close your eyes. Then he softly recited blessings, and the staff immediately emitted a golden let, forming a magic circle above Afaluo's head. But suddenly Afaluo felt a sharp tremor in her heart. Stepping back several paces in fear, what was that just now? The high priest lowered his staff and asked if Afaluo felt any discomfort. Afaluo shook her head, indicating she was fine. At this time, the Duke stepped forward, saying, Your Highness likely has too little magical power within her body, so she couldn't handle the divine blessing all at once, causing some discomfort. The emperor approached and gripped Afaluo's shoulders, his tone cold. Is this what you call the Holy Temple's blessing? Sensing the tense atmosphere, Afaluo gently tugged at her father's sleeve. I'm fine. It should be as the Duke said. My constitution is too weak. Hearing Afaluo's words, her father's expression softened, and he sighed. Is the so-called blessing from the Holy Temple now complete? Upon receiving confirmation, he turned to Afaluo and Emma, saying, In that case, you may depart. At this time, the high priest expressed that to show his apologies, the temple would send the Holy Sun to accompany the princess to the academy and protect her highness's safety. Hearing the words Holy Sun, Afaluo was somewhat surprised. Could this be the male lead Pagalette? Speaking of which, this person looks exactly like that astrologer. Upon hearing the Holy Sun's self-introduction, Afaluo confirmed this was indeed the male protagonist from the novel. It's over, now that the male lead has appeared. Doesn't that mean my death is approaching? The emperor expressed that this was excellent. Afaluo felt like crying. What's so good about it? Your daughter is about to die. In the carriage, Afaluo gazed at the scenery outside the window in a daze. Finally, some peace. Thank goodness I stopped father from sending a night escort. Otherwise, the social death would have been unbearable. Emma saw through Afaluo's thoughts. Refusing those night squads was actually because you didn't want to be constrained by them, right? Afaluo lazily leaned against Emma. If they were here, I'd have to maintain proper princess etiquette. With just you all, I can relax a bit. Looking at the Holy Sun sitting across from them, she suddenly remembered something. Sir Holy Knight, do you know about the fortune-telling house? Afaluo looked at him anxiously. The Holy Knight asked in return, Why does Princess Afaluo ask this? Afaluo explained, You look very similar to someone I once met at the fortune-telling house. In the novel, there was quite a bit of description about this male lead. As the holy son of the church's temple, Pagalette could be said to be second only to one person and above all others. The people of the holy temple said he was cold and emotionless, like a lofty deity, as if he had no feelings. Yet the person she encountered that day was holy and gentle. Though the final impression wasn't very good, the personality differences between the two were still quite significant. Let thought for a moment. The person your highness mentioned, could it be an astrologer? Afaluo stared in surprise. How did you know? At this time, Emma interrupted them, looking uneasily at Afaluo beside her. It's merely speculation, your highness needn't overthink it. There are many people with similar appearances. No need to be surprised. Afaluo could only smile. All right, perhaps I'm overthinking. Looking at Emma and Let, she thought silently. Why do I feel like these two know each other? Is it just my imagination? Soon, as Afaluo was dozing off, they finally arrived at the teleportation platform for the academy. At the teleportation platform, seeing the sea of people before her, Afaluo was somewhat surprised. Why are there so many people? Won't we have to wait in line for a long time? At this time, Weidie reminded her that royalty had their own dedicated teleportation circle. Only then did Afaluo remember, as a member of the royal family, I should have some privileges. The feeling of having power and influence is quite nice. The teleportation circle activated, a golden light flashed, and the four disappeared instantly from their location. When Afaluo opened her eyes, a magnificent and imposing building appeared before her. This is Austin Academy. Afaluo gazed in amazement at the structure before her, when suddenly an unfriendly voice came from behind. Well, what country bumpkin is this? Weidie's expression darkened as he turned around, seeing a red-haired youth arrogantly continuing his mockery. Country bumpkin. This isn't a place for people like you. The four glanced at him and had no intention of engaging, turning to walk toward the academy. Having punched cotton, the youth's face looked rather ugly. At this time, he noticed Weidie walking beside Afaluo. Isn't this the Black Disaster Star, Weidie? Hearing this, Weidie clenched his fists. Afaluo turned around disapprovingly. What did you say? The youth continued his taunting. Don't you want to know what the Black Disaster Star means? That black-haired guy beside you is an ominous person who can curse his own mother to death. Unable to bear it any longer. No need to endure further. Afaluo angrily stepped forward to argue, but was pulled back by Weidie. The youth sneered. If you want to stay alive, you'd better keep your distance from that guy. Afaluo paused, suddenly understanding. So this person is a coward? Then she loudly whispered in Emma's ear. This person is so strange. Clearly he's the coward, yet he blames it on Weidie's hair and eye color. We should leave quickly. Staying with cowards too long might turn us into cowards too. The few sentences were low in damage but extremely insulting. The youth flew into a rage, about to step forward but was stopped by his attendant. That seems to be the princess of the Rifest Empire. Afaluo glanced at Weidie, who was still standing there stunned. What are you standing there for? Let's go. Weidie watched Afaluo's retreating figure, blushing as he followed. The group was laughing and chatting when Afaluo noticed the silent Weidie beside her. "What's wrong?" Weidie hesitated. "Aren't you afraid that I'm the Black Disaster Star, that I'll bring you misfortune?" Afaluo thought for a moment. "Just because of your naturally black hair, people consider you an ominous existence? Isn't that so?" Afaluo thought silently. "If it's just because of this, then the world I lived in before, wouldn't that be full of ominous beings?" In the novel, the description of Weidie ended after Afaluo sent him back to his own country. Given this world's discrimination against black hair, he probably wouldn't survive long after returning. This was too tragic, she couldn't bear to think about it. Afaluo stood in front of Weidie and had him lower his head, then gently touched his head. "It's all right. A bunch of cowards who judge by appearances, calling Weidie a disaster star just because of his black hair. By that logic, wouldn't golden-haired Emma be an angel reincarnated? And silver-haired Let be an archangel descended?" Emma was amused by Afaluo's description. Who describes people like that? Let asked. "Then what would pink-haired Princess Afaluo be considered?" "She's my lucky goddess," Weidie interjected. The air was inexplicably filled with the scent of romance. Confirmed by their gazes, this was someone shipping the couple. Emma couldn't help but tease them, causing both to blush and turn away. "Registration is about to begin, let's hurry." Afaluo watched Weidie's retreating figure. Couldn't help but cover her burning cheeks, her heart racing. "Oh my, what was I just doing?" I actually felt a tiny bit of attraction. After filling out the registration materials, they chatted while walking toward the dormitories. Reaching the fork in the road, Afaluo and Weidie had registered for the Warrior Academy, while Emma and Let had registered for the Magic Academy. The four parted ways at the crossroads. Afaluo opened the dormitory door and was delighted to see a familiar figure. Before Afaluo could be happy, a voice suddenly came from the side. "Is this that worthless princess?" Looking over, she saw a short-haired girl with lipstick frowning at her. Blair called out her name disapprovingly, but the girl just shrugged. "Isn't she? Someone without magic power, what is she if not worthless?" Afaluo looked at her seriously. "Having no magic power only means I can't study magic, but I can still learn swordsmanship. I believe swordsmanship doesn't require particularly high magical power." Seeing Afaluo's determined gaze, the girl said no more, turned around and introduced herself, Michelle Messesvito, then pointed to the girl beside her. "This is Mary Leia." The next day at the freshman assembly, watching the people on stage giving lengthy speeches, everyone was somewhat bored. Since Weidie was ostracized by his roommates due to his ominous black color, he simply sat together with Afaluo and the others. Fortunately, the roommates didn't mind Weidie's hair color and had no particular reaction. After the leaders finished their speeches on stage, the next to take the stage was the freshman representative from the Magic Academy. A golden figure walked past, standing at the podium. "Hello everyone, I'm the freshman representative from the Magic Academy, Emma Glolaiuroris." Afaluo watched Emma on stage and couldn't help but sigh. Truly worthy of being the female lead. She's the center of attention wherever she goes. At this time, Blair suddenly said she needed to leave for a moment. Michelle yawned impatiently. "How much longer will this take?" Weidie looked at the schedule. After the Warrior Academy freshman speaks, it should be over. At this point, it was the Warrior Academy freshman representative's turn to speak. The person who appeared on stage surprised everyone. "Isn't that Blair?" When the freshman assembly officially ended, Michelle complained unhappily. "We agreed to be underachievers together, but you secretly became a top student. Is this what they call the disparity in the world?" Blair explained awkwardly. "I thought you all knew. After all, my surname is Aztec, General Aztec's Aztec." In the novel, General Aztec was renowned for his prowess in battle, and his children inherited his traits. She had known this from the first time she met Blair, but hadn't expected her to be this impressive. At this time, Weidie suddenly asked, "Which class are you all in?" Everyone looked at their cards. Weidie, Blair, and Mary were all in Class A, while Afaluo and Michelle were assigned to Class F. The air instantly fell silent. Michelle went crazy. "We're clearly from the same dormitory. Why am I in the bottom class with this person?" In Austin Academy not only had strong faculty but also fierce competition. Class A represented the elite, Class B represented the excellent, Class C represented the advanced, Class D represented the intermediate, Class E represented the basic, and finally Class F, the bottom class, built on a hillside plaza, far from the urban bustle. Michelle held her head. "Am I, a noble lady, really going to attend classes in such a place? No way!" Afaluo patted her shoulder in comfort. "I'm still a princess, yet I'm also in this classroom." Both saw the same two words in each other's eyes. Accept fate. At this time, a voice suddenly came from behind. "Hello there, bottom-tier young lords and ladies." Everyone turned to look, seeing a man wearing an eye patch looking at them mockingly. "I'm your homeroom teacher, Billy Potter Eliwa." Everyone glared at him disapprovingly. Although Class F indeed had the reputation of being the bottom class, saying it so bluntly would offend everyone. Michelle angrily stepped forward. "What do you mean by that?" Afaluo quickly reached out to stop her. The man smiled and said, "Did I say something wrong? You're all just a bunch of failures with low talent, weak abilities. And no one wants you." Seeing everyone's defiant expressions, he continued, "If you want to prove to me that you're useful, then run to the top of this mountain first. This is your first lesson." Looking at the towering peak reaching into the clouds, everyone hesitated. "Is it really possible?" Michelle clenched her fists. "It must be possible." I refuse to be looked down upon by someone. At this time, the communicator crackled to life, dear worthless students. Whether you're truly hopeless wastes or salvageable wastes will depend on whether you can retrieve your student IDs from the mountaintop. By the way, student IDs serve as your passes, and without them you might not be able to survive at the academy. The atmosphere immediately became tense. Afaluo looked worriedly at everyone. Can such a team really reach the summit? The assessment officially began. Everyone ran toward the mountaintop, helping each other as they climbed to the mountainside. At this time, a cry of alarm came from nearby. Afaluo walked into the crowd and saw a girl who had sprained her ankle, sitting pitifully on the ground. Afaluo immediately asked, "Are there any classmates who know healing magic?" After the girl's sprain was treated, Afaluo and Michelle helped her up. But the girl suddenly broke down crying. "I quit! So what if I'm worthless? I am worthless, so what?" Michelle directly slapped the girl, looking at her coldly. "Say that again!" Afaluo quickly held her back. Michelle continued, "If you're willing to be worthless, then be worthless for the rest of your life." After saying this, she turned and left directly. Afaluo watched Michelle's retreating figure, recalling this plot point from the novel. Afaluo and Michelle disagreed and had a big fight, becoming close friends with like-minded Shirley. But in the end, Shirley betrayed Afaluo when identifying the murderer of the emperor, accusing her of being the killer. In the side story about Michelle, it did mention why Michelle became so angry. As the second daughter of the Vito family, Michelle appeared arrogant and willful, but actually had weak magical power. Neither as capable as her older sister, nor as likable as her younger sister. As the middle child, she was neither here nor there, gradually being overlooked. In order to gain attention, she slowly became the way she was now, appearing unreasonable and domineering. Thinking about it this way, Michelle's experiences and personality were quite similar to Afaluo's. After Emma was brought back, Afaluo, who was inferior to this sister raised in the slums in every way, was gradually neglected. What they both heard most often, and hated hearing most, was, "worthless." Afaluo walked up to Shirley and said seriously, "Do you know what kind of person is truly worthless? It's someone who considers themselves worthless." After saying this, without waiting to see everyone's reaction, she chased after Michelle, who had already run far ahead. "What are you doing here?" Afaluo stretched lazily. "I came to work hard at not being worthless." Then the two continued running toward the mountaintop. Before long, the other students gradually caught up. There were many people in this classroom like Afaluo and Michelle, but none of us were willing to become the worthless people others called us. Our eyes had only one goal, and that was the summit. Afaluo and Michelle gasped for breath. "We finally made it!" The high peak was dyed golden by the brilliant sunset clouds, and Afaluo couldn't help but exclaim, "So beautiful!" At this time, she noticed the classmates still continuing to run upward. Perhaps Michelle's slap had an effect. People kept getting back up. Perhaps our talent really is poor. Perhaps our personalities really aren't likable. But we also have our own persistence. The mountain climbing path may be difficult, but no matter what, we will reach the summit. After the assessment ended, formal classes began. After finishing the morning classes, Afaluo and Michelle prepared to go to the cafeteria for lunch together. On the way, Shirley secretly followed them. Since that assessment, Shirley seemed to have developed unspeakable feelings for Michelle. At this time, Shirley blushed and stepped forward to invite Michelle to eat together. Michelle smiled awkwardly. "Sorry, I'm having lunch with my roommates later." Shirley watched the two leave. Showing a creepy smile, she smiled at me just now. After getting their food, they encountered Emma, who was also at the cafeteria. So they walked over to Emma's table. Emma enthusiastically introduced her roommate to Afaluo. "This is Shrola, Ace." "Felerina?" Afaluo responded politely as well. At this time, Ace suddenly said, "I know you, that famous princess without magic power." Hearing this, Weidie's expression immediately darkened, and Michelle also stood up angrily. "What do you mean?" Ace quickly explained, "I meant no offense, it's just what everyone says." Shrola also helped explain, "My apologies, Ace speaks rather directly." Afaluo waved her hand to indicate it was fine. At this time, Emma took out a box and handed it to Afaluo. "These are cookies I made in baking class for you." Then she took out some scrolls. "I also made these in class, though the effects might not be as good as those sold in stores." Afaluo held the items and looked at Emma with deep emotion. At this time, a sour scent suddenly filled the air. "Sister Emma is so good to Afaluo. I begged for those cookies for ages but didn't get any." And Sister Emma's handmade scrolls. Unlike me, who was sent away by Sister Emma to make my own, Afaluo held them and smiled awkwardly. "What kind of passive-aggressive comment is this? But anyway, I have no magic power, so this isn't exactly a secret. Besides, this is handmade by the female lead, the future great mage. I'd be foolish not to take it." After eating, they chatted while walking toward the exit. At this time, Afaluo accidentally bumped into someone while not paying attention, and the remaining soup from the tray splattered onto the other person. Afaluo immediately apologized, and saw the woman snap her fingers. The stains on her body instantly disappeared. Then she looked at her coldly. "Name, class?" Emma recognized the woman and whispered in Afaluo's ear, "Oh no, this is our magic teacher Marias. She hates people with low magical power." The most Afaluo's mood instantly felt like being struck by lightning. "This is terrible! When will this magic supremacist world stop judging people by their magical power?" She could only carefully state her class and name. Mori softly repeated her name, the worthless princess without magic power from the rumors. Afaluo replied quietly. The rumors are indeed accurate. Michelle wanted to step forward disapprovingly, but was stopped by Blair. That person is a teacher. If you offend her, you'll have no good days in class. Mori heard Afaluo's words. At least you have some self-awareness. But Afaluo said seriously, I know I have no talent in magic, but I will definitely work hard in martial arts. The two stared at each other quietly for a while. Then Mori turned and left, leaving behind. I hope so. After the person left, Michelle complained angrily. I never thought there would be such teachers in this academy who judge people by their abilities. She's had strange attitudes towards students who don't study well in class before, but treating Afaluo like this is actually quite good. At least there was no punishment. Afaluo smiled awkwardly. So, should I be grateful? At this time, Mary quietly said, There are many people like that? Michelle didn't hear clearly and asked in confusion, What? Mary shook her head, indicating it was nothing. Speaking of which, Mary is really amazing. Those noble heirs who have studied martial arts from childhood aren't even as good as Mary's self-taught martial arts, she said while intimately linking arms with Mary. Why don't you teach me too? Mary replied flatly, I'm not as amazing as you say. Those things are just survival skills. Back in the dormitory, everyone got ready for bed. At this time, Blair asked, I heard you climbed mountains all day today? Hearing this, Michelle instantly perked up, sitting up abruptly and began ranting, You have no idea how perverted that teacher is. He started by calling us all worthless. Made us climb the back mountain, I nearly wore my feet out. Blair laughed. But you were still the first to reach the summit, Michelle said proudly. Of course. Don't you know who I am? Mary suddenly asked, What classes do you have tomorrow? It won't be mountain climbing again, right? The two were sweating, it shouldn't be, right? They chatted for a while before saying goodnight and going to sleep. At this time, Afaluo's mind suddenly recalled the words spoken by Teacher Billy and Teacher Mori at lunch, and she suddenly opened her eyes. After confirming that the other three were asleep, she took out a necklace from under her pillow and quietly left the dormitory. In the darkness, Blair suddenly opened her eyes, quietly watching Afaluo's departing figure. Afaluo came to a corner of the academy, took out the necklace and recalled Neil's words. Your Highness, for your safety, I've modified this necklace into a magical artifact that will allow you to use magic freely. I've also arranged for a teacher to instruct you in magic. Late at night, Afaluo crouched in the corner, shivering. I hope that teacher will come tonight. Otherwise, I'm going to freeze to death here. At this time, a voice suddenly came. Then you don't need to wait. That teacher has already frozen to death first. A figure descended from the sky, suddenly appearing before Afaluo. Looking carefully, it was actually the teacher she had encountered at lunch. Looking at the person before her, Afaluo asked in surprise, The teacher instructing me. It wouldn't be you, would it? Mori crossed her arms. What, are you dissatisfied? Afaluo quickly waved her hands. How could I be? I just didn't expect that the person who was speaking coldly to me at lunch would become my instructor in the evening. Suddenly Emma's words came to mind, and Afaluo shivered. She wouldn't use this opportunity to torment me, would she? Instantly, the person before her transformed in her mind into an evil and cruel demon. At this time, Mori interrupted Afaluo's imagination. What are you thinking about? Are all the people around Lord Tamanir this strange? Afaluo scratched her head awkwardly. No, I just didn't expect the teacher Neil mentioned would be you. But Mori's attention completely shifted. She just called Lord Tamanir by the name Neil? Oh my goodness, I wouldn't even dare call the Lord by such an intimate name. Afaluo looks at Morias, who is emanating dark aura all over his body, and cannot help but ask, Teacher, are you all right? But Morias raises his magic wand and asks with murderous intent, Tell me, what is your relationship with Master Neil? Afaluo frantically raises his hands. Please calm down. Neil is actually just my butler. Morias repeats the word butler, and a strange scene involuntarily appears in his mind, causing him to blush. Oh my, is this something I can experience without paying? Afaluo looks exasperated and interrupts her. Please do not imagine strange things. Neil is just a normal butler. Morias clears his throat and seriously states, I know. Afaluo looks at him speechlessly. Do you think I believe you? At this point, the topic finally returns to business. You may call me Morias. I am sent by Master Neil to teach you magic. Every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, at 1 o'clock midnight, I will wait for you here. As he speaks, the topic gradually goes off track again. You and Master Neil really do not have that kind of relationship. Afaluo hurriedly waves his hands. Really, we do not. He thinks to himself, why did Neil send his fangirl to be my teacher? Then formal instruction finally begins. Afaluo closes his eyes and carefully senses the magical power fluctuations around him. The surroundings are completely silent, as 4 flames of different colors appear around him. At this moment, Morias' voice appears by his ear. Find the brightest flame. Tell me, what color is it? Afaluo hesitates before speaking. Purple. Purple. Try to control that magical power. Make it appear in your hand. Afaluo concentrates and his necklace also glows accordingly. A purple flame suddenly appears in his palm. Afaluo looks at it with sparkling eyes. Success! Morias also acknowledges approvingly. You have some talent. Not bad. Afaluo smiles happily. I still have to thank Neil for the necklace he gave me. Morias looks proud, of course. Anything Neil gives will naturally be excellent. The way of address has changed. What exactly is his relationship with Neil? Afaluo asks curiously. How did Teacher Morias and Neil meet? Morias looks bashful. That is a long story. Back then, I was still a freshman at the academy. But before she can say much, Afaluo ruthlessly interrupts. Since it is a long story, please make it short. Marius turns his head away in dissatisfaction. Academy trial. You will have this in the future too. He then recalls with an intoxicated and bashful expression. At that time, Master Neil descended from the sky. Afaluo states, I do not want to hear this. And quickly interrupting her. Teacher, after summoning magical power, what comes next? When it ends, Afaluo sits exhausted on the ground, finally over. For someone with no foundation, being able to control magical power to this extent is quite good. Afaluo lies down on the ground. Great. At this moment, Marius throws a book beside her. This contains some basic magic. Study it well. She then activates her magical power and instantly disappears from the spot, leaving only one sentence. 3 days later, 1 o'clock midnight, see you here. In the morning, Afaluo, who stayed up almost all night, reluctantly gets up from bed, drowsily walking toward the bathroom. Michelle looks at her puzzledly. Did we not sleep together? How is she so tired? Blair sees through the truth but does not say it. Perhaps she just has trouble sleeping in new places. As the two are talking, Afaluo directly bumps her head into the door. This is beyond just having trouble sleeping in new places, right? During class, Michelle asks Afaluo with concern, Are you really okay? Your condition this morning was truly frightening. Afaluo awkwardly scratches her head. It was indeed a bit scary. Who told Teacher Marius to be so strict, making me practice until 4 in the morning before letting me go back? Michelle yawns. Forget it, I am also very tired. Help me keep watch. I will sleep for a while. Meanwhile, Afaluo quietly opens the magic book Marius gave her. All magic cannot be separated from the basics. Advanced magic all evolved from basic magic. To learn advanced magic, you must first start learning from the basics. Then let us start from here. In Marius's room, the communication crystal on the table suddenly glows. Touch it lightly. Neil appears in the image. Senior, suddenly contacting me with the communication crystal. Do you miss me? Neil looks somewhat helpless. Be serious. I am here to ask about His Highness's situation. Knowing that I like you, yet making me serve as the teacher for His Highness whom you care so much about, are you not afraid I will get jealous? Neil sighs. After all, you were once the Academy's magical genius, and also the Academy's youngest Grand Mage. In any case, the fewer people who know about His Highness learning magic, the better. How is His Highness's learning progress? Marius thinks, not bad, faster progress than ordinary people. Perhaps in the future he will also be a genius. Meanwhile, ever since Afaluo encountered Teacher Marius, he began receiving hellish training from Teacher Billy Potter during the day, and hellish training from Teacher Marius at night. Although somewhat tiring, it is overall quite fulfilling. At night, Afaluo practices magic alone. Suddenly, a slight sound comes from nearby. Afaluo frantically extinguishes the flame and looks toward the source of the sound. Who would have thought that the person walking out from behind the pillar is actually Weidie? Weidie walks up to Afaluo, so your highness can actually use magic. Afaluo smiles awkwardly. Sort of. He cannot help but wonder. Why would Weidie appear here so late at night? Fortunately, Teacher Marius has already left. He was too absorbed in practice and did not notice accidentally leaving the time domain. At this moment, Weidie notices the necklace around Afaluo's neck. If your highness practices alone every night, how about I also help your highness with martial arts training? Afaluo looks at him with delight. Really? Would that be too much trouble for you? Serving your highness is my honor. And did your highness not previously worry about slow progress in martial arts? Afaluo recalls the complaint he casually made to Weidie before. That day I was just speaking casually, but he actually took it to heart. Afaluo smiles. In that case, please take care of me, Teacher Weidie. In the following days, Afaluo begins learning martial arts with Weidie, and gradually makes great progress in martial arts as well. Although the results are significant, it consumes too much energy, as if returning to the previous life of studying countless subjects. Seeing Afaluo's listless appearance, Blair asks with concern, Are you okay? Michelle looks displeased. What could be wrong with her? We agreed to be lazy together, but she is secretly overachieving. Afaluo smiles awkwardly that it was all an accident. At night, Afaluo and Weidie continue practicing martial arts, seeing the current results. Weidie states, Your Highness's martial arts foundation is now adequate. Then, let us begin the next stage of practice. He then condenses a ball of black flame in his palm. Since your highness can use magic, you can add magic to martial arts techniques. He then launches the flame from his hand, instantly creating a black crater on the tree. Afaluo looks at this scene in amazement. Eye-opening. You can play it like this! Weidie looks at her. Your highness can try? Afaluo closes his eyes and concentrates, and his necklace glows accordingly. Then a purple magic circle appears in front of Afaluo's palm, shooting toward the same tree, leaving a purple crater below the black one. Afaluo looks at his hand with delight. So magic can be used like this too. Amazing! However, Weidie looks at Afaluo's necklace and falls into thought. Only when Afaluo calls out loudly does he come back to his senses. Your highness, the necklace around your neck. Afaluo looks at the necklace, this one? It is a gift Neil gave me. Seeing Weidie's absorbed expression, he secretly wonders, did he discover something? He recalls Neil's instructions. To avoid others coveting it, your highness must never tell anyone about this necklace's function. Weidie picks up the necklace. This necklace looks very precious. Your highness should wear it inside in the future. Seeing Weidie's enlarged handsome face, Afaluo covers his chest and shyly turns his head away. I understand. He screams frantically inside, Ah! What is wrong with me? Then the two begin practicing using magic and martial arts. When it ends, Afaluo sits exhausted on the ground. Finally over. This martial arts and magic combination is making my head explode. Weidie softly comforts, wanting to become stronger is naturally not easy. The ground is cold, get up first. He then extends his hand to pull Afaluo up. Due to inertia, Afaluo accidentally falls into Weidie's arms when getting up. At such close distance, both their heartbeats seem to stop for a beat, then drum rapidly like thunder. At this moment, Weidie's expression darkens. A magic circle pattern actually appears in Afaluo's eyes. This is a seal? The next day during class, Afaluo looks at his book absent-mindedly. That day, with Weidie's intelligence, he must have discovered something to say that. At this moment, Michelle looks at Afaluo's textbook and reveals a smile. Oh my, whose name is written here? Only then does Afaluo notice that he has unconsciously written Weidie's name. She hurriedly tries to cover it up, blushing as he explains, "Do not misunderstand, I was just thinking about something." Michelle looks knowing. Oh, thinking about someone and writing someone's name? Afaluo waves his hands helplessly. Now I really cannot explain this clearly. Recalling one day when Afaluo spent half the day searching in the library, but all the books were unrelated to seals. She lowers her head in disappointment. Why are there none that I want? Turning around, she accidentally bumps into someone's arms. What a coincidence that the person is Weidie. Is your highness looking for books about seals? Afaluo nervously lowers his eyes. I am doomed. He really discovered it. Weidie sighs. Your highness need not be nervous. I will help your highness search together. I was not entirely certain before, but your highness's reaction confirms that my guess was correct. But should you not be the one who least wants me to break the seal? After all, I once treated you that way. Weidie gently touches Afaluo's cheek. Because I believe in your highness now. Afaluo recalls that day's scene. At this moment, Michelle calls him several times before he comes back to his senses. What are you thinking about? I called you so many times without response. Do you want to come with us to see the Academy's club recruitment activities? Seeing Afaluo's confused expression, Mary hands her a flyer. Looking at the strange promotional words on the flyer, Afaluo thinks speechlessly, what is all this? Will people really go? Blair explains, this is just one club's flyer. When Mary and I passed by the Academy Plaza, there were many clubs recruiting there, and we were given countless flyers. Michelle enthusiastically puts her arm around Afaluo's shoulder, so let us go quickly. So many clubs must be fun. But Afaluo looks troubled and says she has an appointment later, so she will not go. Michelle looks at her with gossipy imagination. A date? Afaluo looks exasperated. Do not think nonsense. It is not that. She then hurriedly runs out. Anyway, you all go. She left first again. Michelle looks at her retreating figure thoughtfully. There is definitely something wrong. The group then quietly follows Afaluo. Soon, Weidie appears in their field of vision. Michelle instantly becomes excited, completely forgetting she is still following. The couple I ship is really real. When Weidie turns to look, there is no one behind him. Everyone holds their breath and huddles trembling behind the bushes. That was terrifying. We almost got discovered. Over the next period, Afaluo reads many books about seals, but none relate to the seal on her body. At this moment, Weidie approaches carrying a stack of books. Afaluo looks at the towering pile of books and collapses powerlessly. Why are there still so many? Although they can roughly determine that the seal their mother used should be from the church, ever since beginning to learn magic, she has sensed that besides that seal, there seems to be another restriction of unknown origin. A seal locks away power, making it undetectable, while a restriction allows one to sense the power but prevents its use. Afaluo suddenly thinks of the astrologer she encountered before. Although he looks the same as Let, their personalities are very different. Letty previously said the two know each other. Perhaps this could be a breakthrough. Afaluo is seriously reading when a sound suddenly comes from behind. Running over to look, Weidie has somehow triggered a switch. Opening a secret chamber, looking at the pitch-black corridor, the two discuss, and decide to go down and look. Weidie pulls up his sleeve, and lightly touches a button on his shirt, summoning his personal sword. Your Highness, please follow behind me. Afaluo looks at the button on Weidie's shirt, and asks curiously, is that also a magical artifact? A magical artifact is an object transformed by magical power. It can be jewelry or a weapon. The transformed effects are also varied. It can be a deadly weapon or a blessing treasure. However, magic that can transform objects is extremely rare, making magical artifacts worth a fortune. Among these, the most sought after are storage magical artifacts. While Afaluo is thinking, they soon reach the bottom of the secret chamber. Looking at the empty surroundings, he secretly speculates, this kind of secret chamber, according to novel conventions, either contains some terrifying beast or stores some rare treasure. And these places often have countless traps and hidden passages. Afaluo takes a gold coin from his pocket and throws it forward. The coin is instantly burned to ash by sudden flames. There really are traps. Reading novels does have some use after all. Weidie looks at the scene before him and grips his sword tightly. Your Highness, for the road ahead, please stay close to me. Afaluo looks at Weidie's back and cannot help swooning. I am doomed. How can he be so handsome? Weidie protects Afaluo behind him and cautiously moves forward. Suddenly there is a rumbling sound. Several arrows shoot toward them. Weidie quickly uses magic to block the arrows, then suspends the arrows in air and carries Afaluo forward. At this moment, Afaluo discovers countless more arrows shooting toward them from behind. He quickly alerts Weidie. Weidie immediately turns and strikes down the approaching arrows, then carries Afaluo and retreats. Only when everything returns to calm does he put Afaluo down. Setting such traps, it seems what is inside is not simple. He then looks up at Weidie. I did not expect Weidie to be so capable. Is that black flame Weidie's magical power? I have never seen black magical power before. Weidie looks somewhat stunned, and lowers his eyes to hide the emotion in them, but that is inauspicious dark magic after all. On the Imperial continent, most people are born with varying amounts of magical power. Common ones include natural elemental powers, as well as variant magical powers like lightning and ice. Rarer are those with light attribute magical power, also called divine power. Dark magic is even rarer than divine light power, and is the only ability that can contend with divine power. Afaluo mutters quietly, no wonder it is so strong. I will definitely face the church in the future. So then, thinking this, she smiles at Weidie. Let us continue. With Weidie's protection, I feel very safe. The two then continue deeper into the secret chamber. Soon they reach the end. Afaluo sits panting against the wall. There are too many traps in this secret chamber. Weidie takes off his coat and drapes it over Afaluo. The ground is cold. Your Highness should be careful not to catch cold. Seeing Weidie blushing shyly, Afaluo cannot help but laugh. However, after all this commotion, I realize I am truly weak. I could not help at all and survived only thanks to Weidie. I am really useless. Seeing this, Weidie frantically comforts her. Your Highness has already worked very hard. There are just too many traps here. There must be something important inside. Hearing Weidie's words, Afaluo suddenly remembers that, in the original novel, there was mention of a forbidden grimoire in this academy that the church had been searching for but never found. Perhaps it is hidden somewhere in this secret chamber. Thinking this, Afaluo's hand inadvertently touches a floor tile. A door suddenly opens behind them. Caught off guard, Afaluo falls backward directly. Weidie quickly reaches out to Afaluo, grabs her wrist, turns and embraces Afaluo, landing solidly on the ground as her cushion. Afaluo covers her dizzy head and sits up, only to discover she is sitting directly on Weidie's body. She immediately springs away and sits to the side, pretending to be calm. However, her heart is screaming frantically. Ah! What should I say in this awkward situation? My toes could dig out a castle, but just now I seem to touch his chest muscles. His body feels so good. Too bad I did not have time to properly appreciate it. At this moment, Weidie suddenly approaches, interrupting Afaluo's fantasies. Your Highness, we seem to be trapped. Afaluo looks around. All around are high, sealed walls with no gaps. I must have been too excited and accidentally triggered the mechanism, so we fell down here. Let us first look for an exit. The two search around for a long time but find nothing. Afaluo lies on the ground in despair. There is nothing at all. Weidie sits against the wall. Let us rest for a while and think of a solution. Afaluo suddenly speaks actually. If I had not suggested entering the secret chamber, we would not have been trapped here, right? If I were stronger, Weidie would not have to work so hard protecting me, right? If I had not touched that mechanism, we would not have fallen down here. Seeing Afaluo gradually losing her rationality and looking crazed, Weidie quickly steps forward and grabs Afaluo's shoulders. Your Highness, your current condition is very wrong. It is all because of me that we are trapped here waiting to die. If there were no me, Weidie detects a trace of dark magic in the air. When was she influenced by dark magic? Although dark magic can absorb each other, Weidie grits his teeth and hesitates for a moment, as if making some decision. Forgive my rudeness, Your Highness. He then kisses Afaluo's lips. They finally kissed. Pipi feels so excited. It seems like all sound has disappeared from his ears, leaving only the deafening heartbeat from his chest. After absorbing the dark magic from Afaluo's body, Afaluo's eyes regain clarity. Then she collapses weakly. Weidie quickly catches her. Soon, Afaluo awakens from unconsciousness and asks Weidie in confusion, "What happened to me?" Weidie explains, "Your Highness was previously invaded by dark magic in your heart and nearly committed suicide." Afaluo is shocked and covers her heart in fear. I actually had thoughts of suicide? Dark magic is said to have the ability to bewitch people's hearts and bring out the darkest side of their hearts. She cannot help but shiver. How terrifying. Did Weidie pull me out of that state? Weidie's expression stiffens upon hearing this, and he answers quietly, dark magic can absorb each other. Only then does Afaluo understand. However, seeing Weidie's flushed cheeks, she cannot help but wonder, is absorbing magical power very taxing? Why is Weidie's face so red? Weidie recalls the previous scene and stammers, Your Highness, about what happened before. But Afaluo looks blank. Before? What happened before? You do not remember. Weidie feels a complex emotion. I do not know whether to be relieved or disappointed. Afaluo suddenly jumps up and frantically circles around Weidie. Did I do something bad to you when my heart was invaded? Did I hit you? Are you injured? Weidie soothingly grasps Afaluo's hand, Your Highness. You are overthinking. I am fine. All the dark magic here has disappeared. The exit should appear now. As he speaks, a whooshing sound suddenly comes from around them, and a platform rises behind them. When the surroundings return to calm, Afaluo carefully opens his eyes and turns to discover the platform that appeared from nowhere, and the book placed on the platform. Weidie speculates, this should be what the secret chamber protects. Could this be that? Forbidden Grimoire? The legendary book that records all magic on the continent. Whoever possesses it can possess the entire continent. Weidie takes down the Forbidden Grimoire and casually flips through it. Suddenly excited, he grasps Afaluo's hand. Your Highness, there is a very good chance this contains a way to break the seal on you. But Afaluo's attention is on their tightly clasped hands. The two quickly release their hands and turn away, covering their pounding hearts. Weidie blushes deeply, somewhat annoyed. Damn, what was I just doing? I hope your highness did not think too much. He turns back to steal a glance at Afaluo, but his gaze unconsciously moves to Afaluo's rosy, tender lips. He slaps his head and forces his mind to stop. What am I thinking? Stop it, I cannot. Afaluo peers out from behind Weidie questioningly. Are you okay? Weidie composes himself and turns back with forced calm. I am fine, your highness. I just looked through it. This book contains magic-related things. Even ancient magic is recorded. Taking this book back, breaking the seal on your highness is just a matter of time. Afaluo thinks indeed a grimoire recording all magic on the continent would certainly contain records of magical seals. But will the Academy let us take this book out? Forget it, I will not think about it too much. Let us first take this opportunity to find a way to break the seal. At this moment, there is suddenly a rumbling sound. Before the two can react, the wall suddenly shakes violently and breaks open a large hole. An elderly man in magic robes with white hair walks in. Your Highness Afaluo, are you all right? Afaluo looks at the newcomer and respectfully bows. Greetings, Principal. Thank you for your concern. I am fine. The principal smiles kindly. Good that you are fine. But while the principal is easy to talk to, the teachers are not so accommodating. Billy Potter steps forward with an imposing manner to lecture Afaluo. You have grown bold. You dare to randomly enter places you do not know. Marias also pulls Weidie's ear and scolds. As the princess's personal guard, you actually joined the princess in this nonsense. The principal quickly steps in to mediate. The children are fine. That is what matters. Your Highness, please do not randomly enter such secret chambers again next time. He then changes the subject. The secret chamber is full of traps. Did you encounter anything strange? For example, a book that suddenly appeared? Weidie lightly tugs Afaluo's sleeve and steps forward. We did not see any. Only then does Afaluo notice that the book originally in their hands has suddenly disappeared. After all, it is something coveted by all parties. It is better to keep it secret. So she says, this secret chamber was empty. We never saw any strange book. That is good. Let us leave first. Do not accidentally wander in here again in the future. He then calls for everyone to leave. At night, after Marias finishes teaching, she warns imposingly once more, do not randomly enter places you do not understand in the future. Afaluo quickly nods in agreement. After Marias leaves, Weidie emerges from the side, stammering that he has something to tell her. He then sets up a barrier around them that can block sight and sound. Afaluo looks at this setup and secretly speculates, is he going to tell me some secret? Weidie sighs lightly, and lightly touches the storage magical artifact on his body, actually producing the forbidden grimoire from within. Afaluo opens her eyes wide in disbelief. How did you get this out? Was it not in the secret chamber? Did you go back in? Weidie explains, I secretly hid it in the storage magical artifact. Before the principal and others came in, he then hands the forbidden grimoire to Afaluo. Your Highness, please try. Afaluo takes the forbidden grimoire. Feeling inexplicably anxious, can the legendary grimoire that records all magic on the continent really break the seal magic on me? But even if there is only a glimmer of hope, I must try with all my might. Afaluo opens the book. Various types of magic instantly flow out from within. After searching carefully, she finally finds seal-type magic among them. Before Afaluo can click on it, the forbidden grimoire suddenly moves restlessly back and forth, then flies directly into the air. Seeing this, Weidie quickly summons his sword and blocks in front of Afaluo. The forbidden grimoire sways twice in the air, and suddenly rushes toward the two. Weidie raises his sword to block, but the book passes directly through the sword. With a flash of golden light, it drills into Afaluo's body. Afaluo collapses to the ground weakly. After regaining her senses, she looks at herself in terror. What happened? Did it fly into my body? The two look at each other. Afaluo cries out in fear, I am doomed. I am going to die again. After calming down, Afaluo closes her eyes and tries to sense the grimoire in her body. But there is no response at all. This should not be right. Just now it seemed like the grimoire recognized your highness as its master. Generally, magical artifacts and secret treasures that recognize their masters have their own consciousness and should be able to sense the book spirit within the grimoire. Weidie speculates, could what just happened not be recognition of a master, but searching for a container? Powerful magical artifacts and treasures, besides recognizing masters, can also produce souls. When magical artifacts and treasures are too powerful and easily cause harm, they will search for containers to store magical power, preventing power leakage. After understanding, Afaluo is so devastated that she loses color. So the tool was actually me? The next day, as soon as Afaluo finishes class, Weidie's voice comes from behind her. Michelle teasingly pats Afaluo. Oh my, it seems someone has come to pick up a certain someone after class. Go on, go on. I will not disturb your date. Afaluo's body stiffens. She quickly pulls Weidie away. What is the situation with that book? Last night, no matter how I called, no book spirit appeared, so I finally gave up. Weidie thinks, I looked it up last night. If some books are damaged, it can cause the book spirit to be affected as well. There are also cases where the book spirit is injured. Although the book is undamaged, the magical power attached to it becomes dim. The grimoire we saw is complete, but the magical power on it should be much stronger. Afaluo speculates that the book spirit itself was injured, chose to recognize her as its master, and is now healing within her body. Once the book spirit recovers from its injuries, they will be able to see it, and then she can learn what she wants to know. Weidie nods in agreement. That should be the case. The two walk and chat. At the corner, Afaluo carelessly bumps into someone again. Weidie quickly supports her. Before they can react, they hear an angry roar. Who dares to be so blind as to bump into this prince? When the other party sees clearly, the female student in Weidie's arms mockingly sneers. Oh, isn't this the useless princess from the Riefest Empire? Afaluo looks at him with confusion. This person looks familiar, but I can't remember who he is. Indeed, staying with Weidie for so long has made you as ridiculous as him. Hearing this, Afaluo suddenly remembers. It's the coward they met at the school gate before. Weidie's brother, the fourth prince of Serenity Kingdom, Weidie Seplo. The original novel didn't mention much about the neighboring Serenity Kingdom, only that the neighboring country has 7 princes. And Weidie ranks 3rd. This Weidie is said to rank 4th, but he hates being called the 4th prince most, because it makes him feel as if he's being overshadowed by Weidie. Weidie's followers also join in the mockery. A dignified princess actually abandons magic to learn crude martial arts. Exactly. What martial arts should a girl learn? Afaluo looks at them speechlessly. What nonsense are you talking about? Are these people here to be comedians? Weidie calls out Weidie's name as a warning, unable to help clenching his fists. What, want to fight? Weidie provocatively extends a finger and waves it. Fighting privately in the academy will result in punishment. Hearing this, neither of them moves, standing in confrontation with each other. At this moment, a voice suddenly comes. I have long heard that Prince Weidie is quite accomplished in magical academics. Now it seems he's quite accomplished in other areas as well. Thank you for your care of my sister. I would also like to exchange magical knowledge with you. To enhance academic communication, Weidie breaks out in a cold sweat on his forehead, hastily declining. Your Highness Emma, I'm just a Class B student. How can I exchange knowledge with you from Class A? It doesn't matter. Academic exchange has nothing to do with class levels. As she speaks, a golden flame condenses in her palm. Just about to strike, Afaluo suddenly interrupts her. This kind of thing should be handled by me personally, to make them truly convinced. Weidie can't help but sneer. Make us convinced? Just with the princess's weak little fists? Weidie's face darkens, looking at him with displeasure. Watch your tone. But Afaluo extends her hand to stop Weidie. It's fine, don't interfere. Then she flexes her wrist. Then I'll fulfill your request and pound your chest with my little fists. Hearing this, the 3 burst into laughter. Yes, quickly pound our chests with your cute little fists. Afaluo walks up to Weidie, clenches her fist, takes a step back, holds her breath and concentrates, punches fiercely toward Weidie's chest, directly sending him flying. Everyone watching this scene drops their jaws in shock. Afaluo looks at Weidie with sarcasm. Oh my, I really didn't expect you to be so fragile. Weidie is helped up by his followers, slinks away in defeat, not forgetting to threaten as he leaves. You wait for me, I'll be back. Afaluo watches their fleeing figures, still talking tough. But fortunately with Weidie's support, I have enough confidence to face these people. Are you alright? What they said was really too much. Weidie looks at Afaluo with eyes full of concern. Afaluo grasps Weidie's hand. I'm fine, although I don't study magic. I have martial arts to protect myself. As she speaks, she shows off the small muscles on her arm. At this time, Weidie reminds Afaluo that it's lunch break time, so the two bid farewell to Emma and Let and leave. Emma, however, watches their departing figures thoughtfully. When Afaluo returns to the dormitory, as soon as she pushes open the door, she sees Michelle surrounded by dark aura, sitting in a chair and glaring at her resentfully. You said we'd go see clubs together, but you secretly went on a date by yourself. Afaluo carefully apologizes. Sorry, I'll definitely accompany you to see clubs this time. Besides, who goes on dates in library's secret rooms? Michelle glares with wide eyes. Now, immediately, right away! With that, she directly drags Afaluo out the door. The two arrive at the Academy Plaza. Michelle is as excited as an unleashed husky, looking here and touching there. Afaluo can't help but feel grateful. Such vigorous energy. Fortunately, we came after eating. At this moment, Michelle notices a girl distributing flyers in the plaza. Look, isn't that person Mary? Is she helping promote a club? Has she already joined a club? The two immediately go up to greet her. Mary runs up excitedly. Why are you here? Michelle turns her head away proudly, secretly joining a club behind our backs without telling us. Mary hastily explains that, I also joined by accident. Michelle stares at her for a long moment, then sighs. Never mind, no need to think about it. With your personality, you probably couldn't refuse someone's pleading again. At this time, a voice suddenly comes from behind. Mary, are these the new members you recruited? Mary hears this voice, frantically pushes the two to leave. You should go quickly. This club isn't suitable for you. But before the two can leave, a golden-haired youth jumps out energetically. Haha, Mary finally has 2 new members. How can we not treat them well? Mary quickly explains. Club leader, these are my roommates, not new members. Hearing this, the club leader doesn't mind stepping forward to invite them. Friends, join our Adashuran club. Although we're a club composed of commoners, we study swordsmanship diligently and hone ourselves, hoping to one day surpass those royal nobles. But Afaluo smiles awkwardly. Sorry, we are royal nobles. Hearing this, the club leader is so devastated he crouches in a corner drawing circles. While Mary takes the opportunity to lead the two away, the club doesn't accept nobles and royalty, so I said this club isn't suitable for you. You should go check out other clubs. So the two go to browse other clubs. At this time, a club attracts Michelle's attention. Seeing the people in the club communicating elegantly and beautifully, Michelle excitedly declares, I want to join this ladies' club. It obviously suits my temperament perfectly. Before Afaluo can stop her, she has already turned and integrated into the club. I'm already a member of this club. Afaluo, go play by yourself. Afaluo looks at her speechlessly, crossing the river and burning the bridge. Afaluo can only browse other clubs by herself. At this time, a shabby, unnoticed club nearby catches her attention. Looking at the sign that reads Special Magic Research Club, she curiously inquires, what does this special magic refer to? Club leader Ailua sleepily opens his eyes, drowsily takes out a flyer and hands it to Afaluo. Special magic refers to all magic except conventional magic. Barriers, seals, beast-taming contracts. These unconventional types of magic belong to special magic and are the subjects of our research. Looking at the flyer, Afaluo thinks helplessly, with such an ugly flyer, will anyone really come? Seal-type magic also belongs to special magic. Perhaps this club might have clues about the seal on my body. I might as well take a look. Worst case, I won't join. Thinking this, Afaluo inquires, so what do I need to do if I want to join the club? Hearing this, Ailua excitedly stands up. Join which club? Our club? Afaluo is startled by this reaction, timidly asking, Can't I join? But unexpectedly, Ailua gets so excited he directly spits out blood. Afaluo looks at him in horror. Are you alright? Ailua explains, I do this when I get excited. It's fine, this is normal. Afaluo thinks with black lines, normal my ass. Then, Ailua immediately arranges the membership procedures for her. Tomorrow at 12:30 p.m., report to the address written on the form. Afaluo takes the registration form, thinking helplessly, I feel like I've gotten on the wrong boat and it's hard to get off. The next day, Afaluo still comes to the club according to the address. Looking at the dilapidated and desolate surroundings, she thinks with black lines, how does this feel even more run down than the Class F classroom? It's even somewhat eerie. As she thinks this, the door behind her suddenly opens. Ailua sees Afaluo and runs up excitedly and enthusiastically. You actually came! Great! I waited for you for so long I almost thought you weren't coming. Afaluo looks at Ailua's tearful appearance, breaking out in cold sweat. Isn't it still 10 minutes before 12:30? Then, Ailua enthusiastically pulls Afaluo inside. As soon as they enter, they hear a bang. Welcome new member Afaluo to the club. Afaluo sees fourth member written on the banner. Can't help asking. The club doesn't just have us 4 people, does it? Getting an affirmative answer from Ailua with a face full of smiles, she instantly stiffens. It's over, now I really can't leave. I've indeed gotten on a very wrong boat. Ailua puts his arm around Afaluo's shoulder with a determined expression. It's fine. Although we don't have many people, we're united. Yis explains somewhat awkwardly. Don't blame Ailua for being too enthusiastic. After all, if our club doesn't recruit anyone this year, it will face dissolution. Kino has Afaluo sit down while explaining. The Academy's clubs need to recruit 1 new member each year. If no new members join for 3 consecutive years, the Student Council will determine that the club has no contribution and dissolve it. But now that Afaluo is here, our club doesn't need to worry about dissolution. But Yis directly throws cold water. There's still the club conference in 3 months to deal with. Afaluo asks with confusion, what's the club conference? It's a showcase conference for various clubs where they demonstrate their club's achievements to teachers. The Student Council and teachers will distribute the year's club funding based on each club's performance. Yis smiles helplessly. Every year our club gets the least funding, which is why the club has trouble recruiting people year after year. These old fogies don't understand what we're researching at all. Afaluo smiles awkwardly yet politely. Actually, I don't quite understand either. Afterward, Afaluo goes to the club's reference room to take a look. The Special Magic Research Club, as its name suggests, is a club that studies magic. The books about special magic in this club far exceed those in the library's collection. According to Kino, most of these books were brought from Ailua's family. Ailua possesses this continent's unique magical ability, time manipulation, which can control the speed of a person's time. However, special abilities bring not only powerful magic but also physical weakness. Although he always appears cheerful, he still cannot escape this fate. This also became the reason he originally established the Special Magic Research Club. Afaluo puts the book back on the shelf. Sighs. Although there are many obscure magic books here, there are still no clues about the seal on my body. But I've found many methods to repair the book's spirit. Recently, I've been able to weakly sense the book's spirit's presence. I hope I can repair it quickly and unlock the seal soon. After some time, during break time, everyone is still chatting and making noise. At this time, Billy Potter suddenly walks up to the podium with a serious expression and announces, "Little brats, congratulations. The annual Academy trial begins in half a month. This Academy trial requires you to form your own teams, maximum 4 people per group." As he speaks, he shows what appears to be a kind smile. There are still half a month left, make good use of the time. Afaluo thinks with black lines, please don't smile. After class, Michelle excitedly grasps Afaluo's hand. Form our own teams? We can have the whole dormitory together. But Afaluo awkwardly refuses, actually. Michelle immediately understands. I know, you want to team up with Weidie. Afaluo coughs slightly. I have something to do, I'll go first. Michelle teasingly looks at her. I know, go find your Weidie quickly. Don't let someone else snatch him away. With that, she loudly cheers behind Afaluo. Go brave Lolo, fear no obstacles. Afaluo looks around searching for Weidie on the road. Then the two successfully meet up. By the way, Your Highness, there's something I wanted to find you about. Afaluo responds, what a coincidence. I also have something I wanted to find you about. Then, the two say in unison, Academy trial, let's team up together. After the two successfully form a team, they need to think of a team name. Afaluo takes a bite of cream pasta. Her eyes instantly sparkle with little stars from how delicious it is. How about calling it the cream pasta team? Villainess seriously considers it, directly going along with his wife. Sounds pretty good, let's go with that. But Afaluo is more interested in the pasta, just wanting another bite. When Weidie's voice suddenly comes from above, "Excuse me, would you mind if we joined your team?" Afaluo instantly feels she can't eat anymore, having an ominous premonition. As he speaks, Emma also jumps out from behind Let. After knowing it was free team formation, the first person I thought of was Afaluo. I met Let on the way here, so we came together. Afaluo looks at her, smiling awkwardly. According to novel conventions, if there's a protagonist in the trial, danger will definitely be encountered. The protagonist can be shot full of arrows like a sieve and still be fine. But cannon fodder will die from just an arm wound. Help. How can I politely yet thoroughly refuse someone? Emma frowns with a wronged expression. Am I making things difficult for Afaluo? Afaluo quickly waves her hands, not at all. Who would dare make things difficult for the protagonist? It's just that Weidie and I already made an agreement, and we four haven't trained together before, so we might not have good teamwork. Let seriously states. We're the Academy's top 3 after all. This shouldn't be difficult. Only then does Afaluo notice that the Academy's top 3 students are all in her team. And as the bottom student, she seems to have even less standing to refuse. Emma grasps Afaluo's hand. Father said that besides protecting ourselves, we should also take care of our respective only sisters. So Afaluo, you'll definitely come with me, right? Afaluo looks at the sparkling Emma, unable to say the words of refusal. After agreeing, she holds her head in frustration. Why did I agree? What should I do? Never mind. I can only take it one step at a time. I hope nothing too serious happens. The next day, Michelle curiously asks, "Your team doesn't just have you and Weidie, does it?" Afaluo smiles with a frown. How could that be? There's also Emma and Michelle looks at him in surprise. The Academy's top 3 are all in your team? Aren't you guaranteed to win? As she speaks, she excitedly shakes Afaluo's shoulders. I want to win effortlessly too. Give me one. Afaluo would love for someone to take the original protagonists away. As long as you can convince any of them to go with you, then take them away. I don't have that ability. As she speaks, she crouches pitifully in the corner growing mushrooms. Afaluo can't help but laugh, waving goodbye to Michelle. All right, I'm going to training. Michelle looks back resentfully while biting her finger. Jealousy transforms people beyond recognition. As soon as Afaluo steps outside, she sees Weidie waiting at the door. Excitedly goes up to greet him. Why are you here so early? Have the others arrived? Weidie explains. Nothing much to do, so I came early. The others haven't arrived yet. Would your highness like to practice first? They should arrive soon. Let's turn on the simulator first. After Weidie leaves, not long after. Let also walks over. The others haven't arrived yet. Afaluo responds. Weidie went to turn on the simulator. I didn't expect the Academy to have this kind of training method, similar to online games. It feels like returning to my previous life, playing games and clearing dungeons with friends. As they speak, the two decide to go in first. At this time, Let suddenly stops her, handing Afaluo a bracelet. This is a gift for your highness. Afaluo looks at the bracelet somewhat dazed. This bracelet looks familiar. It seems similar to the one from the fortune-telling house. Thinking of this, Afaluo directly refuses. This is too precious, I can't accept it. But Let says, this is a bracelet blessed by the temple. It can protect your safety during the trial. As he speaks, he's about to put it on Afaluo. At this moment, Weidie suddenly appears, embracing Afaluo and pulling the two apart with several steps back. The bracelet also falls to the ground. No need. I will protect your highness well. Lord Let needn't worry. Let is stunned for a moment. Bends down to pick up the bracelet from the ground. You misunderstand? I'm just being extra cautious. I didn't mean to question your abilities. Weidie glares at him fiercely. At this time, Afaluo, still in Weidie's arms, can't help calling his name, Weidie. Only then does Weidie realize, quickly releasing Afaluo. The three look at each other in silence. The atmosphere suddenly becomes awkward. At this time, Emma arrives fashionably late. Oh dear, what's this about? Feeling the inexplicable battlefield atmosphere around them, Emma can't help quietly asking Afaluo, what's the situation here? Afaluo smiles with a frown. I don't know either. The scene ignites with thick gunpowder smoke, leaving two little pitiful ones to huddle in the corner trembling. Let frowns with a gloomy expression. Afaluo and Emma both look at him nervously. Are they finally going to fight? But Let only lightly brushes the dust off the bracelet, then shows a smiling face. Good thing it's fine. It would be a pity if it broke. The two immediately breathe a sigh of relief. Let explains. The bracelet contains space magic, storing magic scrolls and other items to ensure the safety of both your highnesses. This is the church's and his majesty's intention. Afaluo looks at him somewhat hesitantly since it's father's intention. Not accepting it might be interpreted as my distrust of the church, which could increase the tension between father and the church. Thinking this, Afaluo extends her hand. Since it's father's intention, then I'll accept it. Although it feels somewhat ominous, it's better not to oppose the church at this stage. Looking at the gradually approaching bracelet, Afaluo feels uneasy in her heart. Just as she's about to ask Emma to help keep the bracelet, it's already securely fastened on her wrist. Afaluo gently turns it, discovering that once worn, the bracelet cannot be removed. Weidie angrily questions, what's going on here? Let explains. To prevent loss, the church attached mystical arts to the bracelet. Once worn, it can only be used by your highness herself. As he speaks, he turns to look at Emma. Your highness, Emma has one too. Emma thinks for a moment, taking out the necklace from around her neck. Is it this one? I didn't realize it was father's intention. Afaluo notices that Emma's necklace is actually the necklace from the fortune-telling house, only that necklace seems somewhat different from that time. Let indeed has connections to the fortune-telling house. Weidie looks at the bracelet on Afaluo's wrist, finding it increasingly irritating. Lightly pats her shoulder. Don't worry, I'll find a way. Afaluo nods. All right, I trust you. As the two talk, they don't notice Emma and Letty exchanging a glance behind them. Success. After resolving the matter, several people head toward the simulation arena. Let falls behind, quietly releases a paper crane. Hearing others calling, then unhurriedly follows up. After several simulation training sessions, Afaluo collapses weakly on the ground, her soul leaving her body. The other three are still reviewing the battle they just fought. Listening to their discussion, Let contemplates for a moment. Indeed, our coordination is still insufficient. Let's go again. Afaluo's eyes directly lose their light, lifeless and hopeless. Spare me. They continue until sunset before finally ending today's training. Afaluo walks unsteadily on the road, as if her body has been completely drained. Emma asks with concern, "Are you all right?" Afaluo forces herself to look energetic. With a forced smile, "I'm fine, no problem, I can still fight." "That's great. When I get back, I'll summarize everyone's training deficiencies from today, and we'll work hard together again tomorrow." Afaluo spits out blood in frustration. Can't we rest for just one day? Are all top students this hardworking? After bidding farewell to Emma and Let, Weidie informs Afaluo, "I observed but couldn't discover any suspicious points. If it's really the same person, then this person is extremely good at hiding, and won't easily reveal flaws." Afaluo holds her forehead in contemplation. "I was suspicious of Let from the beginning, but the other party hasn't shown any traces. But today's appearance of the bracelet in the same style as the fortune-telling house makes it hard to believe there's nothing to it, and it can't be removed." Thinking of Let saying must keep it safe until the trial ends, Afaluo wants to kneel. It would be hard not to keep this thing safe, wouldn't it? At this time, Weidie suddenly gently touches Afaluo's head. "Your Highness, if you can't figure it out, don't think about it. Focus on worrying about the academy trial for now." Afaluo is stunned for a moment, then breaks into a smile. "You're right, let's get through this hurdle first. I'll wait until after the trial to find Letty about the bracelet issue." Soon, it's time for the academy trial half a month later. After the four successfully meet up, the academy director officially announces, "The 32nd academy trial begins now." Several people follow the crowd toward the teleportation array. Afaluo feels uneasy. The academy's first dungeon is about to begin. "I feel somewhat nervous." At this time, Letty senses Afaluo's emotions. "Don't worry, Your Highness, I'll protect you when we go in." Weidie suddenly appears from nowhere. "Your Highness has my protection. Lord Let might as well worry about Your Highness Emma." Watching the two confront each other, Afaluo frantically tries to mediate. "Everyone calm down!" Emma silently thinks on the side. "Actually, I can protect myself." As they speak, several people arrive at the entrance to the academy trial. Weidie quietly takes Afaluo's hand, saying with poor concealment, "To prevent separation." Although seeing through Weidie's little scheme, Afaluo still goes along, yes, to prevent separation. The four stand on the teleportation array, reporting their team name and names. Emma Glo Layurorus, Pagolet, Weidie Seplo, Afaluo Ramros. Hearing Afaluo's name, the recording teacher pauses, repeating her name. "Afaluo Ramros?" Afaluo curiously leans forward. "Is there a problem, teacher?" The teacher shakes his head, indicating nothing's wrong. "The magic teleportation array may cause dizziness during transmission. This is normal, no need to panic." With that, he activates the magic array. As a blinding golden light flashes, several people disappear from the spot. But Afaluo opens her eyes during activation, only to discover that teacher looking at her with a strange expression. Before she can react, she's teleported to the trial location. Afaluo opens her eyes dizzily. With no one around, complete silence. She walks forward 2 steps before suddenly realizing something's wrong. "Wait, where are my teammates?" On the other side, the other 3 also discover Afaluo has disappeared. Weidie anxiously wants to leave. "I'm going to find Your Highness. The trial location is so large, let's search separately." Weidie looks grimly at Let. "Doesn't the church have similar search and location magic?" Let regretfully responds, "I'm sorry, we don't." Watching the two argue endlessly, Emma anxiously says, "Let's find Afaluo, quickly." If Afaluo encounters other teams alone or something else. With that, the 3 split up to search, contacting each other with communication crystals after finding her. At this time, Afaluo is also wandering aimlessly in the forest. But after searching for a long time, she hasn't encountered Weidie and the others, instead meeting other teams, all of whom she can't defeat. Afaluo takes out her communication crystal, thinking helplessly. The communication crystal is also damaged. "I can't contact anyone, what should I do?" Just as she's thinking, a voice suddenly comes from above. "What are you thinking about? So absorbed." Afaluo hears this familiar voice and turns around sharply. Is it Let? But looking over, she only sees someone who looks extremely similar to Let sitting in a tree watching her. "No, it's that astrologer!" At this time, the man suddenly jumps down from the tree. "Long time no see, Your Highness," Afaluo hesitantly calls out. "Let?" The man suddenly leans close to Afaluo's face. "Your Highness seems to mistake me for someone else. How heartbreaking." Afaluo steps back several paces, creating distance. "How are you here?" The man points to the sky. "Because the stars told me you would be in danger." Afaluo looks at him warily. The man touches his chin and chuckles, for example now. You're lost. Afaluo awkwardly turns her head. Is it that obvious? As he speaks, the man extends his hand toward Afaluo. Come on, I'll take you away from here. Afaluo frowns at him, then directly avoids the man's hand. Thank you. Didn't you say you'd take me away? What are you standing there for? The man silently withdraws his hand, smiling as he follows up. Afaluo looks at the man's back, secretly speculating. Although this person looks almost identical to Letty, their personalities are completely different. Are they really different people? Or is the disguise too good? Thinking this, she tentatively asks. Destined Academy is known as the training ground for nobility and royalty. Is the astrologer also from royalty or nobility? Although most students in the academy come from nobility or royalty, there are also a very few gifted commoners. Afaluo continues asking, I still don't know what the astrologer's name is. But the man responds, my name isn't important. What's important is your name, Afaluo Ramros. As soon as the words fall, the bracelet suddenly emits a bright light, and violent trembling comes from beneath their feet. Before Afaluo can react, the ground instantly splits open into a large hole, and she falls straight down. Afaluo sees the man's cold eyes. Her heart sinks. Intentional? Looking at the golden light emanating from the deep pit, the man's lips curl into a smile. Gradually, the golden light fades. Rustling sounds come from behind. Emma emerges from the darkness holding a magic wand. Meanwhile, far from the academy in the palace, looking at the suddenly broken quill pen, the emperor feels an ominous premonition. At this time, Neil suddenly visits, so he temporarily sets aside his inner unease. The two chat for a while. The emperor suddenly decides, let's go to the academy together. On the other side, Afaluo suddenly sits up, looking at the unfamiliar surroundings, crying out helplessly in her heart, where is this? She stands up and brushes the dust off her body, recalling everything that just happened. When the teleportation array was triggered, the bracelet glowed. The bracelet was given by Let. Could it be? Is that person Let or... Rubbing her aching head with frustration, she feels truly dizzy. And this bracelet? How can she possibly remove it? At that moment, rustling sounds suddenly emerge from behind her. Through the dust and sand, a blurry figure rapidly approaches. Before Afaluo can react, a young man with pointed ears suddenly springs in front of her. Beautiful lady, save me! Afaluo stares in bewilderment at what lies behind him. A group of burly men charging forward with murderous intent, directly shocking her into an expression of disbelief. With so many people, even the heavens cannot save him. Seeing this situation, Afaluo turns to flee immediately. However, the young man beside her grabs her firmly. Afaluo turns her head with complete confusion. What the heck? The next second, the young man pulls her into a rapid escape. Afaluo feels like crying. What does this have to do with me? Why drag me into your personal vendetta? Not only do I mysteriously end up in a strange place, but now I have to be dragged into a completely unrelated chase by some weird person. The young man turns his head with a cheerful smile. Sorry, I just grabbed whoever I saw. Am I some kind of commodity that you can just grab at will? At that moment, a meteor hammer suddenly flies toward both of them. The two immediately dodge in opposite directions. Holy crap, they mean business. Dilify, you cannot escape this time. Suddenly noticing Afaluo standing there in a daze, the sight makes Afaluo's legs go weak, frightening her so much that her art style changes. The burly man looks at Afaluo's head, no ears, then looks behind her, no tail either, and becomes greatly shocked. You are not a beast folk? Afaluo responds with complete bewilderment. What beast folk? Only now does Afaluo notice the fluffy ears swaying on the young man's head, and the fluffy tail behind him, causing her to retreat several meters in fright. We are different. You are just noticing this now? Dilify suddenly approaches Afaluo, circles around her sniffing for a while, then jumps back directly. Could you possibly be human? Upon hearing this, the group of burly men all raise their weapons and glare at her with murderous intent. Afaluo retreats several steps in fear. How terrifying. What is wrong with being human? Meanwhile, the emperor has also arrived at Destined Academy. The headmaster politely inquires, Your Majesty, what brings you to our Destined Academy? I came to see how my daughter is doing at the academy. The headmaster responds with a smile. Both your highnesses perform exceptionally well at the academy, especially Princess Emma, whose magical talent is truly remarkable. The emperor frowns with displeasure, placing his teacup heavily on the table. What about Afaluo? Only then does the headmaster respond in a panic. Princess Afaluo also works very hard, and Professor Billy Potter has praised Her Highness for her rapid progress. The emperor nods with satisfaction. I heard that the academy trial is currently underway. Let me see how Afaluo and the others are doing in their trial. The headmaster breaks into a cold sweat. We do not approve of interfering with the children's trials. Just observing. Does the headmaster find anything inappropriate about this? To me, there is no difference between a great mage and an ordinary person. The headmaster sighs and reluctantly compromises. I hope no foolish children will cause trouble for that particular Your Highness. Otherwise, my academy might not survive. He then takes out a communication crystal and applies gentle pressure. The crystal immediately displays images of the other three, but notably absent is Afaluo. The emperor's teacup suddenly explodes in his hand, his face dark with an ominous murderous aura like an approaching storm. The headmaster's heart sinks. Oh no, the academy is finished. The emperor's expression turns grim. Is this how you protect the princess? Weidie immediately kneels to request punishment. An incident occurs right under your noses, and I suspect you, headmaster, have become senile with age. Even the church people are nothing more than empty promises. Emma anxiously steps forward. Father, this happened so suddenly. We never expected that after passing through the teleportation array, Afaluo would... However, the Emperor does not look at her, instead turning his head toward the headmaster. Investigate which teacher guided Princess Afaluo and her group today. The Emperor's expression remains grim, his voice ice cold if anything happens to the princess. Your country, this entire academy, and the church will all accompany the princess in death. I will spare no cost. The church will devote all its power to find her highness. Meanwhile, seeing that Dilify has actually allied with humans, the burly man prepares to execute him on behalf of the clan leader. Dilify droops his ears pitifully. I had no idea this beautiful lady would be human. Afaluo responds with frustration. All this shouting about fighting and killing. Who exactly are you people? Forget it, let us deal with them first and then talk. As he speaks, Dilify's fingers grow sharp claws. He crouches low and charges forward, leaping and spinning to dodge the burly man's attack. The others see Afaluo, a seemingly helpless weak woman, standing there alone and rush forward to eliminate her. Afaluo presses her lips together, no choice but to fight rather than stand here waiting to die. She then concentrates a mass of purple magical energy in her hand, summoning a magic circle that envelops everyone above. Afaluo dodges left and right to avoid everyone's attacks, turning back to strike the approaching hammer with her palm, but Afaluo remains completely unharmed. Instead, the hammer gets corroded and dissolved by the magical energy in her hand. Dilify watches Afaluo with sparkling eyes. Big boss, please let me follow you! Seeing that none of them can match Afaluo, the burly man takes out a teleportation scroll and decides to retreat first, leaving behind a warning. Human, I advise you not to get entangled with him. Beast territory affairs are not for humans like you to interfere with. With that, he disappears into the vast yellow sand. Hearing beast territory, Afaluo recalls a place mentioned only once in the original story. The continent contains various large and small nations, with the centrally located Riafest Empire being the most powerful, and all other kingdoms showing respect to the empire. However, legend speaks of another mysterious territory that rivals the empire, a place where might makes right called the beast territory. Since beast folk never interfere with the human world, very few people know of the beast world's existence. Did he deliberately send me to the beast territory? While thinking this, Dilify suddenly appears from behind her. Benefactor, your life-saving grace leaves me with no way to repay you. He says this while shyly pulling open his clothes. Hey, but Afaluo shows no romantic interest and slaps him away. You are the one who inexplicably dragged me into this mess. Dilify immediately cowers. I was wrong. Stay calm, stay calm. This is the beast territory? Dilify tilts his head in confusion. You did not know. Then how did you enter the territory? Afaluo sighs helplessly. I do not know how I got here either, but I need to find a way back. Those burly men earlier should have left using teleportation scrolls. My mother left quite a few teleportation scrolls in her secret chamber. As long as I set the teleportation coordinates to the academy, I can return, just as she prepares to open the scroll. Dilify suddenly grabs Afaluo's shoulder excitedly. Benefactor, why not take me with you? Afaluo quickly pushes him away. What would you do there? I am going to the human world. But I have no place to stay here either. What exactly did you do? Why are those people chasing you? Dilify's eyes wander as he stammers. It is just that I am too weak. Those people look down on me. Afaluo compares the difference between them and realizes that in front of the might makes right beast folk, he does indeed appear somewhat weak. Thinking this, she reluctantly compromises. Fine. But if you want me to take you, you should at least let me know who you are, right? Dilify cheerfully pats his chest with a light tone. I am called Dilify, from the tiger tribe. Handsome, right? Afaluo looks at him speechlessly. I thought you were... Seeing Afaluo's expression, Dilify angrily points at her. What is that expression? Do you think I am a cat? Let me tell you, I am carnivorous. Afaluo awkwardly waves her hands. I do not. Stop talking nonsense. All right, enough fooling around, let us prepare to leave. You cannot regret this decision. Before Dilify can answer, a dark magical energy suddenly appears behind them. Afaluo looks toward that spot alertly. Something is wrong. This is not from my magic scroll. As the rift grows larger, both assume defensive stances and watch warily. Then a pair of hands suddenly extends from the rift. Weidie actually emerges from within. Seeing that it is Weidie, Afaluo immediately relaxes, walking forward with joy and excitement. However, Weidie suddenly kneels on the ground. Your Highness, thank goodness you are safe. Looking at Weidie's pale complexion, Afaluo inquires, how did you find me? Before Weidie can answer, he sways unsteadily, and then collapses into Afaluo's arms. Still murmuring softly, I am sorry. I failed to protect you. Afaluo looks at Weidie with heartache. At this moment, Dilify suddenly appears and curiously asks, Benefactor, is this your mate? Afaluo turns completely red, frantically explaining, What are you talking about? We do not call them mates where we come from. No, we are not that kind of relationship. He is my guard. Dilify responds with disbelief, really? Anyway, let us find somewhere to settle down first. With that, she begins dragging Weidie away. Dilify suggests, I know a secluded cave where we can go. The three arrive at the cave and light a fire, finally settling down. This person is called Weidie. How is he? Nothing serious, just exhaustion. He will be fine after some rest. Dilify continues his curious questioning. Then why does he call you your highness? I remember that is how you humans address nobility. It is how one addresses a princess. I am Princess Afaluo of the Riafest Empire. Dilify widens his eyes in surprise. You are a princess. How did you end up in our beast territory? Afaluo shakes her head helplessly. I do not know either. Even now, I cannot understand why that person sent me to the beast territory. Was it to make me impossible to find? How did he learn the coordinates of the beast territory? Were the teleportation array coordinates preset or random? She sighs helplessly. But if I do not find a way back to the academy soon, who knows what chaos will break out there? There is not a trace of magical energy in Weidie's body. What did he sacrifice to find me? While thinking this, Weidie's hand moves slightly. Then he groggily opens his eyes. Seeing that Weidie has finally awakened, Afaluo breathes a sigh of relief. Weidie sees Afaluo so close to him, and immediately becomes alert. Hurriedly sitting up, forgive me, your highness. How could I sleep on your lap? This is truly disrespectful. Afaluo smiles warmly. No need to be so tense. I apologize for suddenly disappearing and causing everyone to worry. Your highness need not apologize. I imagine this was not your intention. How did your highness arrive here? And how did you end up with beast folk? Dilify notices Weidie's gaze and enthusiastically presses close to Afaluo. Speaking of my meeting with my benefactor, it was truly destined fate. You clearly dragged me along against my will. Afaluo breaks free from Dilify and explains, I accidentally fell into some teleportation array and was transported here. As for this person, I was forcibly dragged into saving him. Dilify protests, dissatisfied. What is with that expression? Before he can finish, a sword points straight at him. Do not be disrespectful to your highness. Afaluo smugly pokes her head out from behind Weidie. I am a princess of a nation after all. By the way, Weidie, how did you know I was here and come to find me? Weidie recalls his earlier use of dark magic to forcibly tear through the spatial barrier. Such a terrible method is better not mentioned to your highness. Seeing Weidie remain silent, Afaluo changes the subject. Let us return first. I have magic scrolls that can teleport us back, so Weidie need not worry about how to get back. I do not want to see Weidie in such a weakened state again. Dilify excitedly pops up from the side. Can I leave this place with you too? Looking at Dilify's excited face and happily wagging tail, Afaluo scratches her head awkwardly. The magic scroll's power may not be enough to transport so many people. A beast folk suddenly appearing in a human country would likely cause disputes. This statement strikes like a bolt from the blue. Dilify's ears droop pitifully. How can this be? Watching the two activate the scroll to prepare for departure, Dilify furrows his brow. No, I must leave this place. If I continue staying here and those people find me, I am finished. Even if I have to use this method, I must. Thinking this, his form gradually shrinks, actually transforming into a small cat. A golden light flashes through the cave, and looking inside again, it stands empty. Opening their eyes, the two have successfully returned to the Academy's trial forest. Weidie looks at Afaluo happily. Your highness, we have returned. At this moment, a voice makes both of them freeze. This is the human realm? It is much better than our place. Afaluo looks at him in astonishment. Dilify, how did you follow us here? Did you not say you were a tiger? Or how did you turn into a cat? Dilify stretches lazily. Were you not worried that having beast folk appear would cause disputes? So I transformed into a cute pet. This way you do not need to worry approximately. Afaluo and Weidie remain speechless. No, we just did not want to bring you. At this moment, rustling sounds suddenly come from nearby. Weidie immediately positions himself protectively in front of Afaluo. After a while, Emma emerges from the bushes, her eyes lighting up with joy upon seeing Afaluo. Wonderful! I finally found you. Thank goodness you are safe. She hugs Afaluo tightly, with Dilify instantly becoming a sandwich filling, protesting loudly. I am fine, Emma. Please let me go first. You are crushing the little cat. Only then does Emma release Afaluo, wiping tears of joy from her eyes. I am sorry. I was too excited. At this time, Weidie also approaches from behind. Princess Afaluo is safe and sound. His Majesty can finally rest assured. Afaluo watches him warily. Which of those two is the real culprit who caused me to fall into the trap? Weidie calls out with concern, Your Highness. Afaluo shakes her head with a smile. It is fine. Emma becomes attracted to the small cat in Afaluo's arms. Where did this little cat come from? So adorable approximately. I found it. The answer comes crisp and clear. Dilify protests dissatisfied. Are you being polite? Let us go find father first. They must be very worried about me. With that, the four head toward the academy. Afaluo looks at Letty's retreating figure, quietly discussing with Weidie beside her. Weidie, do you remember when we once encountered a fortune teller at a divination shop? I remember. Why does your highness suddenly mention that person? Afaluo speculates. This accident might be related to him. That person and Let are identical except for their temperament. However, he acted as if he was unfamiliar with the name Let. Does your highness suspect they are the same person? I am not certain that person's appearance was too coincidental. After your highness disappeared, we split up to search for you. At that time, Princess Emma and Let were actually acting together. Afaluo expresses great shock. If that person and Let are the same person, then Emma. Since there is no evidence yet, only speculation, we should not tell father for now. Emma notices the two lagging behind and approaches Afaluo. What are you two whispering about? Is it something Let and I cannot know? Both immediately look away shyly. Nothing. Princess Emma misunderstood. Alright, I misunderstood. This romantic atmosphere approximately. At this time, Letty also discovers the trial exit. Afaluo runs forward excitedly. Finally out! However, the trial entrance is surrounded by layers of guards, instantly leaving her stunned. What is this situation? At this moment, the Emperor also emerges from behind. Seeing the Emperor, Afaluo's heart sinks. I am finished. I disappeared for so long. Father must be very angry. Looking at Father's cold expression, Afaluo feels anxious. Just as she prepares to apologize, Father suddenly embraces her. Thank goodness, you are safe. Father, are you not angry? Father releases Afaluo and inquires with confusion, why would I be angry? Because I ran around carelessly, let myself fall into a strange magic array, and made you worry. Father gently touches Afaluo's head, his tone gentle, this is not your fault. Then his tone shifts, looking coldly at Weidie and Let. As for those who failed in their duty to protect you. Hearing this, Afaluo quickly steps in front of them. I was able to return safely entirely thanks to Weidie and the others. Weidie even exhausted all his magical energy to find me. So Father. At this moment, a sudden cat's meow interrupts Afaluo's words. Neil inquires with confusion. Where did the cat come from? Afaluo picks it up and explains. It is a stray I accidentally rescued. At the time, it was being chased by other fierce beasts. I felt sorry for it and saved it, then it kept following me. Father looks at Afaluo holding the small cat, the image of Afaluo's mother gradually appearing before his eyes, murmuring softly, Nefana. At this moment, Afaluo holds the small cat and acts cute together, so Father, please do not punish Weidie and the others, okay? Under the double cute attack, Father reluctantly compromises, considering you have returned safely. I will consider their merits offsetting their failures. Afaluo happily holds hands with Emma. Wonderful. The cat proudly puffs out its chest. As everyone knows, cats are the ultimate weapon of cuteness, and no one can resist a cat. Ever since Afaluo was found by the Emperor, he brought her back to the palace from the academy. The Emperor believes the academy's security has vulnerabilities and refuses to let her return to study at the academy. The headmaster begins conducting a thorough investigation of the entire academy. The academy trial also terminates as a result, with all students temporarily returning to their respective homes. Afaluo begins a boring life of eating when full and sleeping when tired, as if retirement has started early. At this moment, Diliphi's paws suddenly appear in front of her, yawning lazily. Your Highness, Diliphi can see your boredom too. Afaluo looks at it suspiciously. Really? I think it is the one who feels bored. Since returning to the palace, Diliphi has won the deep affection of Heidi and the maids, and has now been fed by the maids until he resembles a tank. Diliphi protests dissatisfied. What are you looking at? I am just fluffy, not fat. Weidie suggests. If you are bored, you could invite Miss Blair to visit. Right, Blair is in the capital city. Unfortunately, Michelle and Mary are quite far from the capital. At this time, Neil approaches. Your Highness, if you wish to go out, please be sure to bring guards with you. Afaluo is directly frightened. This is too exaggerated. Completely unnecessary. Weidie seriously states, although your Highness has left the academy, your studies cannot stop. These past few days, I have organized your Highness's learning situation and drafted a study plan. He hands the materials to Afaluo. Your Highness may review this. This is too much, even more intensive than the academy curriculum. Neil responds with complete seriousness. Princess Emma is also studying. Your Highness naturally cannot fall behind others. Without delay, let us begin the first course now. With that, he pulls Afaluo away. Weidie and Heidi silently light candles behind them. Your Highness, take care. Afaluo feels like crying. How? Must princesses also face competitive pressure? Goodbye to my happy retirement life. After several days under Neil's intensive training, Afaluo finally manages to sneak out successfully with Weidie's formidable combat skills. Your Highness, there are many people here. Please stay close to me. Afaluo looks at Weidie, and cannot help but chuckle softly. Weidie defeated so many guards and allowed me to come out and play freely. How can you start worrying about not being able to protect me properly now? Weidie blushes with embarrassment. Your Highness, please do not tease me. Your safety is the most important thing. Speaking of which, has Weidie's strength improved further? When Weidie proposed challenging those guards, I was quite startled. I never expected you to easily defeat them all. Perhaps exhausting my magical energy at that time actually made my magical power stronger. Being able to better protect your Highness could not be better. Afaluo looks at him with deep emotion. Just as the atmosphere between them becomes pleasant, Weidie suddenly blocks Afaluo's path, catching Diliphi, who has secretly followed them out. Weidie holds the cat and asks Afaluo, Your Highness, what should we do with this? Afaluo sighs helplessly. Let us find somewhere with no people first. After reaching a quiet alley, Diliphi finally jumps down from Weidie. Do not think you can sneak out to play without me just by leaving me behind. Afaluo looks at him helplessly. We were not exactly sneaking. It was quite open, was it not? We did not bring you because we were afraid you would run around. Weidie already has his hands full protecting me. If you get lost, no one will look after you. Then you can just carry me around approximately. He even blinks his sparkling big eyes, acting pitiful and cute, please approximately. Afaluo tactically retreats. Do not think the tricks that work on Heidi will work on me. You are so heavy. However, looking at those sparkling eyes staring at you with such brightness, Afaluo still gets hit, just as she prepares to abandon reason and agree. Weidie grabs Diliphi by the scruff of his neck and holds him in his arms. I will carry him. He even gives Diliphi an ominous look, you third wheel. Only then does Afaluo breathe a sigh of relief. Thank you for the trouble. At this moment, she suddenly notices a corner of clothing flashing around the corner. That color. Thinking this, she immediately pursues. After passing the corner, she once again sees the familiar sign. Divination House. Do you remember what I told you before? I remember. Your Highness can use this opportunity to probe and clarify things. Afaluo takes a deep breath and calms herself. Just do nothing when we go in. The cat looks completely confused. What is the situation? Afaluo pushes open the door and discovers that Emma is actually here too. Looking puzzled, Emma, what are you doing here? Emma does not answer, but instead asks her, Afaluo? Afaluo sits beside Emma. I naturally came to find the fortune teller for divination. What a coincidence. I also came to find the fortune teller for divination. I wonder if the fortune teller has time. Of course, though I only provide divination for one person per day. He nods apologetically to Afaluo. Afaluo looks disappointed. At this moment, she suddenly notices the necklace around Emma's neck. Emma, your necklace is so beautiful. I once received a necklace very similar to this one at this divination house, but unfortunately I did not accept it. She regretfully pounds the table. Thinking about it now, I really regret it. It was so beautiful. Did Emma also receive this necklace from this shop? Emma stammers in response, yes. If your Highness likes it, I will prepare a new gift for you. Afaluo smiles and declines, no need, thank you for the kind offer, fortune teller. At this time, Weidie reminds Afaluo that it is time to return. Afaluo stands up to leave. This necklace suits Emma very well. I will not take what others cherish. When reaching the door, she suddenly turns around to inquire. I still do not know the fortune teller's name. Emma surely knows? Just as Emma prepares to answer. The fortune teller speaks first, your Highness. Just call me Shius. Afaluo receives a satisfactory answer, a slight smile appearing at the corner of her mouth. Good, I will remember that. Let us go then. After Afaluo leaves, Shius looks at the necklace around Emma's neck, and suddenly realizes something is wrong. Terrible. We have been tricked. After leaving the divination house, Afaluo wears a relaxed smile. Watching the bustling scene on the street, the two decide to discuss everything after returning. The cat remains completely confused. Who am I? Where am I? What are they talking about? After returning to the palace, Afaluo has Weidie take Dilify away. Dilify protests strongly, but his protests prove ineffective. After only the two of them remain in the room, she begins to speak. Do you remember that fortune teller's name? Light's full name is Page Let Levis. The last two characters of the name. Might this be too much of a coincidence? Of course. There are many people with similar names. Of course, it is not just this. Emma's necklace was given to her by Letty before the academy trial, but today she said it was given by Shius. Either both happened to give the same necklace, or they are the same person, which made my dear sister momentarily forget to distinguish between the two. Afaluo picks up her teacup, recalling that in the original story, the male protagonist Light used the alias Hyas during his external training. So, Princess Emma knew about this all along? Most likely, the speculation during the academy trial might have been correct. Weidie immediately stands up to inform the Emperor of this matter. However, Afaluo stops him. There are still many suspicious points. Let us investigate clearly before speaking. Why would Emma help Letty conceal this? What is the relationship between her and Let? Also, I always feel this probing was too easy. Since they concealed it for so long, why did they expose so many flaws this time? Listening to Afaluo's questions, Weidie prepares to respond. But suddenly there is a knock at the door. Weidie enters and says, Princess Emma invites you to attend tomorrow's tea party. The two exchange glances, both feeling somewhat doubtful. The next day brings beautiful weather with gentle breezes. The four chat leisurely in the garden. Trolla suddenly mentions, I heard there is a very accurate divination shop in the capital. Then she says mysteriously, I heard the owner of the divination house is a handsome man approximately. Emma smiles helplessly. If you want to know how handsome that shop owner is, just look at Light, because Light is that shop owner. Everyone expresses surprise. Afaluo looks at Emma with confusion. It seems she no longer intends to hide it. After concealing the secret for so long, she just admits it openly. Has she discovered my investigation and decided to break the pot? Or does she deliberately plan to lay everything out in the open? Is her relationship with Light one of cooperation or exploitation? At this moment, Emma also notices Afaluo's gaze. The two smile at each other. Beneath the calm surface, undercurrents surge. After the tea party ends, Afaluo stretches tiredly. Ah! Weidie inquires with confusion. Your Highness, you just attended Princess Emma's tea party. Should it not have been relaxing? Afaluo lazily collapses into her chair. Yes, tea parties should be very relaxing. Looking at the ceiling, her heart feels inexplicably bitter. But when someone who should be kind and innocent suddenly becomes strange and incomprehensible, what should one do? In the original story, Emma was gentle and kind, always speaking softly and being considerate, giving people a warm feeling. But gentleness can also be feigned. Emma, who seems to have known Witova for a long time. Emma, who now appears to have a complicated relationship with Let. Which one is the real you? Afaluo rubs her cheeks in frustration. Ah, so annoying. I do not want to think about it anymore. I should focus on finding a way to break the seal first. At that moment, a sudden knock came from outside the door. Is Princess Afaluo in? I have matters to discuss. Although Afaluo felt some doubt in her heart, she still had Weidie open the door to invite him in. After Letty was seated, Afaluo inquired, What brings you here? Let spoke directly. Your Highness should already know about the Academy trial. That was a test for the future of the Empire. Afaluo looked at him with displeasure. What kind of test is this? Your Highness, please rest assured. You have already passed the test and the church will fully support you in becoming the new emperor. Afaluo silently speculated. So if I hadn't passed, the church would have supported Emma instead. Aren't the church and the royal family supposed to be non-interfering? Then what do I need to do for the church? Your Highness only needs to help maintain the church when necessary. In other words, become the church's puppet. Additionally, doesn't your Highness want to break the seal on your body? I know how to break it. He extended his hand toward Afaluo with an invitation, Your Highness, with our support. It will only make you stronger. Afaluo uneasily gripped her dress. Something's wrong, very wrong. I appreciate Let's kind intentions, but this matter is of great importance. I need to consider it carefully. After all, I haven't planned to become the new emperor yet. Letty expressed understanding and stood to leave. Your Highness can consider it carefully. When you've made your decision, you can come find me anytime, after Letty left. Afaluo sighed helplessly. It seems that in the original story, Emma becoming the new emperor wasn't that simple. That night, Weidie stood alone in the quiet corridor, watching a carrier pigeon flying from the distance. He took the letter from the pigeon, and after reading it, his expression darkened. He crumpled the letter into a ball and burned it completely. Time to go back. At that moment, Emma suddenly appeared from somewhere and called out to him. You look troubled. Is something bothering you? Weidie frowned, no response. Just some private matters. No need for Princess Emma to worry. If I remember correctly, besides being Afaluo's personal guard, you're also the third prince of the Serenity Kingdom. I heard the King of Serenity is ill, so you should be returning to the kingdom soon. Weidie frowned in displeasure and interrupted. What exactly are you trying to say? Emma smiled. You should also know that Afaluo has no magical power, and you can't stay in the empire forever as a mere guard. So in the future, the only one who can protect Afaluo is the future new emperor. She suddenly stood on her tiptoes and whispered something in Weidie's ear. Seeing that Weidie hadn't returned for a long time, Afaluo went out to look for him, just in time to see Emma and Weidie standing together. Seeing Afaluo's arrival, Emma didn't linger, said goodbye to both of them and turned to leave. After taking 2 steps as if remembering something, she turned back to look at Weidie. I'll wait for your answer. Thank you for Princess Emma's kindness. I'll consider it. Afaluo watched the two with complete confusion. What's going on? That conversation just now? Could it be that Emma was confessing to Weidie? A few days later, Afaluo recalled that scene, which still made her feel restless and irritated. She tugged at her hair in frustration. What did they say exactly? She couldn't help but imagine Emma and Weidie gazing at each other affectionately. I'll wait for your answer. I'll consider it. Afaluo covered her head. No matter how you look at it, this conversation sounds like a confession. Weidie suggested, if you're really concerned about it, why not ask Lord Weidie directly? Afaluo refused in panic. No, I can't ask Weidie. If I ask... Before finishing her sentence, she changed the subject directly. Come help me look at the dresses for the spring ball. Every spring, the Empire holds a ball, inviting all unmarried men and women to interact and get to know each other. In simple terms, it's a matchmaking event. Finally, no classes, but still have to attend a ball. However, this year's ball attracted many people from other countries. Even this guy came. Seeing him, Afaluo showed a disgusted expression as if she had swallowed a fly. Wilno also noticed Afaluo at that moment, and confidently threw her a flirtatious look. Ugh, this guy is so greasy he could cook without oil. At that moment, the crowd became agitated, as the emperor had also arrived. The emperor walked up to Afaluo and inquired, How are things going? Is there anyone you fancy? Afaluo shook her head to indicate no, wondering, why is Father Emperor suddenly asking about this? If there's someone you fancy, you can invite him for the first dance. Emma too. Afaluo agreed on the surface but felt puzzled inside. Why suddenly ask if I fancy anyone? Could this ball actually be a matchmaking event? For Emma and me? As the beautiful music began to play, the ball officially started. Everyone began to interact with each other, looking for someone they fancied on the dance floor. I heard His Majesty is hosting this spring ball with the intention of selecting partners for the 2 princesses. Only someone with the status of a duke like Master Kamenlit could be worthy of a princess. Kamenlit confidently patted his chest, of course. Which princess does Master Kamenlit favor more? Kamenlit stroked his chin thoughtfully. Princess Emma is gentle and virtuous, truly the dream woman of countless nobles. But she was found from the slums, which has limitations. Princess Afaluo is the Empire's legitimate princess, but her personality is terrible, willful, and capricious, although she's improved recently, but just then, Emma suddenly walked in this direction. Kamenlit was about to put on airs, but Emma completely ignored him and walked straight to Weidie. May I have the honor of inviting Lord Weidie for the first dance? The honor is mine. Kamenlit still maintained his bowing posture, staring at the two in bewilderment. Are you kidding me? Meanwhile, Afaluo was also invited away by Let. After all that comparison, she didn't choose either one. Kamenlit was completely petrified. What's going on? As the beautiful music played, everyone danced gracefully. Although Afaluo was with Let, her eyes kept watching Weidie and Emma. Does your highness actually want to dance with Weidie? I thought Emma would dance with you, but he chose Weidie instead. Afaluo felt sour inside and couldn't help overthinking. Just as I thought before. Does this mean Weidie accepted Emma's confession? Does he prefer Emma? After one dance ended, the 4 bowed politely to each other. At that moment, a scream suddenly came from the crowd. Someone's dead! Master Kamenlit has committed suicide! The banquet hall immediately fell into panic and discussion. How could he suddenly commit suicide? I saw it with my own eyes. Master Kimonlit picked up a knife nearby and stabbed himself. How terrifying. At that moment, the emperor walked toward the crowd, breaking the speculation. Everyone watching the scene didn't know what to say. After a moment of silence, someone in the crowd suddenly shouted, "It's a curse!" Weilno pointed at Weidie and said with certainty, "It must be that guy! That black hair is the symbol of a curse!" The scene immediately erupted in chaos. Afaluo stood in front of Weidie. "Where's your proof? Don't make baseless accusations." The emperor gestured to the guards, "Have the priests examine him and clean up here." The guards carried Kimonlit away. Soon after, a guard came forward to report the examination results. Master Kimonlit's body indeed shows traces of dark magic. It should be suicide caused by dark magic corrupting his mind. Dark magic? Afaluo looked seriously at Weidie. How could this be such a coincidence? Among all the nobles present, only Weidie can use dark magic. But Weidie was dancing with Emma the whole time, and I was watching Weidie from time to time. Moreover, if dark magic really appeared, Let, as the temple saint, couldn't have missed it. Light and darkness sense each other. The real culprit must be someone else. The people at the scene, hearing it was caused by dark magic, all discussed among themselves. Running toward the exit in fear, afraid they would be next, the emperor's expression was serious. A single silence temporarily restored quiet to the scene. Until the culprit is found, no one is allowed to leave. Weilno still insisted on blaming Weidie. The only one who knows dark magic is that black-haired guy. He killed Master Kimonlit. Upon hearing this, everyone quietly moved away from Weidie. Afaluo suddenly spoke up in defense. If Weidie really could use dark magic to harm people, then years ago, I should have committed suicide like Master Kimonlit, shouldn't I? She then glared at Weilno with displeasure, truly standing guard in front of Weidie. "Princess Afaluo, you can't say such things carelessly." Afaluo answered seriously, "Isn't that right? Although I've recently improved my attitude toward Weidie, I used to hit and scold him constantly. Compared to Master Kimonlit, whom I barely knew, shouldn't I, the princess who bullied him daily, be more deserving of death?" Everyone hearing this became somewhat hesitant. Indeed, we haven't heard of any connection between them. Could there really be someone else? Weilno was also startled into a daze. But hearing that some people still had doubts about the black hair and curse, he snapped back to attention and continued pointing at Weidie. Undeniably, his black hair is a curse, a symbol of dark magic. From the moment he was born, he killed his own mother. Perhaps he's not the murderer, but it's still connected to him. Because he is the curse incarnate. Afaluo looked at him speechlessly. Are people still engaging in feudal superstition these days? She sighed helplessly. Even though this is a world with magic, all magic can be traced. She then stepped forward and bowed before the emperor. "Father Emperor, I volunteer to investigate this matter thoroughly. No matter who the culprit is, they will be severely punished." Emma advised Afaluo with concern, "This is no small matter." Letty also sternly warned, "Your Highness should think carefully." Weilno scoffed disdainfully. "If it really was Weidie who did it, who knows how you'll cover for him? After all, he's your close associate." Afaluo turned around seriously and asked coldly, "Are you questioning the word of an imperial princess?" Seeing Afaluo's cold stare, Weilno stiffened and didn't dare say more. "If it really was someone close to me who did this, I would punish them even more severely than others. I only need people of integrity by my side. So I will definitely find the real culprit and prove your innocence." Hearing Afaluo say this, the emperor agreed to her request and entrusted the matter entirely to her. "Don't disappoint me." Emma and Let also expressed their willingness to assist. Afaluo curtsied to everyone. "Due to investigation needs, if there's any offense, please forgive us." She then instructed the guards to thoroughly search the scene. Soon the guards returned to report, "Your Highness, no anomalies were found." Afaluo pondered with her hand on her chin. The culprit isn't among the crowd. Could they have infiltrated and already left? The banquet hall has only one main entrance, so the guards stationed there must have seen the culprit. She then walked toward the entrance. The guard, seeing Afaluo, looked nervous and loudly assured her, "Rest assured, Your Highness, no one is left through here." Afaluo quickly waved her hand to indicate no need for nervousness. "I just want to ask about something else. After the ball started, did anyone enter or leave?" The guard recalled carefully. "From the start of the ball until His Majesty ordered that no one could leave, no one entered or left?" "I understand. Thank you. You've worked hard." The guard immediately stood at attention. "Serving Your Highness is no hardship." When Afaluo returned to the center of the banquet hall, Emma inquired, "Did you discover any clues?" Afaluo shook her head helplessly. At that moment, Weilno jumped out again to interfere. "What more is there to investigate? No one entered, no one left, and everyone's identity is verified. The culprit is this cursed person." Afaluo stood in front of Weidie, but before she could speak, the emperor spoke first to Weilno. "This is the Riafest Empire. Speaking of which, Weidie is also from your Serenity Kingdom. By your logic, wouldn't anyone else from the Serenity Kingdom also be connected to curses?" Weilno hastily explained, "Your Majesty jests. I don't have his black hair, so how could I be cursed? Black hair equals curse? The Serenity Kingdom spreads quite unfounded rumors." Afaluo looked at the emperor with gratitude. Emma watched this scene with an unwilling frown. At that moment, a guard ran over in panic, looking at everyone's anxious expressions, hesitating whether to speak. But under the emperor's command, he still knelt down and said, "Count Bedford and Duke Russell have committed suicide. Both were corrupted by dark magic." Hearing the guard's report, everyone was shocked. just like Master Kamenlit. The same thing happened simultaneously at the palace, the Count's mansion, and the Duke's mansion. Let looked at Weidie. It seems the culprit isn't Weidie after all. But Wilno immediately retorted. He must have set everything up in advance, making them all activate simultaneously to clear his own suspicions. Afaluo angrily shouted his name. Why does this guy always want to make Weidie the culprit? Your Highness is getting agitated. Did I hit the mark? Just as the two were about to argue, the Emperor stopped the commotion. Enough. This matter will be thoroughly investigated by the Empire's guards. You need not interfere further. Hearing this, Afaluo was stunned and couldn't insist further, only reluctantly compromising. Since someone suspects Weidie, let's detain Weidie under supervision. If any anomalies are discovered, execute him immediately. After the ball ended, Afaluo returned to her room, sitting on the bed in despair. What should I do? Now all suspicions point to Weidie. Let brought out a stack of documents. I have some information about those people, collected by the church. This incident has great impact, and the church also hopes to resolve it quickly to calm the people. Neil also brought some documents. Let's begin then. The three of them carefully examined the documents. But after looking for a long time, they found no leads. Among the people these individuals had contact with, there's no one suspicious, nor did they contact the same person. Afaluo persisted in checking. Isn't there even a trace of suspicious similarity? At that moment, Emma handed over a document. Look at this. The document showed a ring on a man's hand, giving a sense of familiarity. Afaluo examined it carefully, then ran to the table searching for something, subsequently finding several documents. The accessories worn by the people in the documents are all the same style, but they don't know each other. Afaluo speculated, this might be a lead. Let took the documents of several people. I'll have the church help investigate their accessories. Once we have results, I'll notify you immediately. Emma also followed. I'll go with you. The two walked down the quiet corridor when Let suddenly asked, what do you plan to do next? Emma paused, turned back and smiled. Of course I'm helping my sister find evidence. You shouldn't disappoint us either. Let frowned, his fist clenched tightly at his side, but then released it helplessly, answering softly, of course not. Emma smiled with satisfaction. That's good. After all, they saved us. Weidie was considered the murderer of the nobles, and was imprisoned, to find evidence to prove the boy's innocence. Afaluo could only work tirelessly to investigate. After carefully examining the collected accessories, they unexpectedly discovered that all the accessories had been infused with dark magic. Unless someone possesses light magic, it would be difficult to detect. However, only church members possess light magic. Now that we know the reason, we just need to find the source of these accessories to identify the culprit. The three regrouped with renewed determination. We're close to the culprit. Weidie will definitely be cleared. Your Highness, I asked someone to inquire with the families of Kamenlit, Count Bedford, and Duke Russell. Their accessories were all purchased on the same commercial street, but Afaluo kept looking out the window, unable to help worrying about Weidie's current safety. Only after Neil's loud call did she snap back to attention. Why are you shouting so loudly? Neil replied speechlessly. I've called you 3 times already. Afaluo scratched her face embarrassedly. Really? Neil handed the commercial street information to Afaluo. After careful examination, they were all bought at the same place. It seems necessary to leave the palace to investigate. The next day, the three left the palace together to investigate. But what Afaluo couldn't understand was, why did Letty suddenly become my personal guard? Emma, you're also a princess. Don't you need a guard like Let for protection? Emma smiled sweetly. I know magic, so I can protect myself. This left Afaluo unable to argue. After all, I'm the weakest among the three. I used to have Weidie's protection, but now that Weidie isn't here, and what we're doing must be kept secret. So I can only ask Let to temporarily serve as your guard. With things said to this point, Afaluo could only reluctantly accept. What exactly is Let's purpose? This is also a good opportunity to test him. So the three decided to investigate separately. But after inquiring at multiple shops with the accessories, they all received negative answers. Until the two came to the last jewelry shop, Afaluo showed the bracelet and asked, do you sell accessories like this here? The shop owner observed carefully. This accessory doesn't seem to match the Empire's craftsmanship. It should be from the Serenity Kingdom. I'm sorry, customer, we don't sell this type of accessory. Hearing it was from the Serenity Kingdom, Afaluo couldn't help but stagger. How could it be from Weidie's country? Let then asked, our young lady likes this type of accessory very much. Do you know where we can buy them? Recently, there do seem to be more of these foreign accessories. As for where to buy them, I heard there's a wandering merchant selling this type of accessory recently. But that person's whereabouts are uncertain, so I don't know where he is. Having obtained the key clue, the two didn't linger, thanked the shop owner, and left the jewelry store. But Let secretly slipped a bag of gold coins to the shop owner while Afaluo wasn't looking. After the two left, the shop owner weighed the money bag in his hand and showed a satisfied smile. After leaving the shop, Afaluo sighed helplessly. This was the last jewelry store. It seems that wandering merchant is the key. All the shop owners mentioned that wandering merchant. If we find that person, everything will become clear, Let said regretfully. But they say that person's whereabouts are uncertain. Afaluo thought seriously for a moment, then snapped her fingers. I have a solution. Let's go find Emma first. Let stayed in place, hesitating for a moment, then slowly followed. Your Highness, as you instructed, we've spread the news that a mysterious wealthy merchant is very interested in gems from the Serenity Kingdom and is willing to pay high prices. Heidi asked uneasily. Won't this put you in danger? Afaluo gave him a reassuring look. This is the best solution Emma and I came up with together. And Letty will be accompanying me. With his protection, don't worry. Hearing Afaluo say this, Heidi could only reluctantly put his mind at ease. When Neil brought back definite news, the three left the palace again to take action. Letty disapproved as he looked at Afaluo. Let me handle this kind of thing. Why must you come personally? But Afaluo was unusually determined. I must personally investigate this matter and clear Weidie's name. At that moment, a figure suddenly rushed out, colliding hard with Afaluo, then hurriedly left, accidentally dropping a bracelet from his body. When Afaluo looked closely at the bracelet style, she stared in disbelief. It's that mysterious person! Without hesitation, she chased after him. Emma reached out to stop her, but her hand stopped midair and she quietly withdrew it. When Afaluo finally caught up to the mysterious person, she found him trading with another person. Just as the man was about to take the bracelet, Afaluo quickly jumped out. Stop! Both were startled, and the mysterious person, seeing someone following, turned and ran. Seeing this, Afaluo also quickly chased after him. When the mysterious person reached a dead end, Afaluo finally cornered him, breathing heavily. Now can we have a proper talk? The mysterious person spoke in a hoarse voice. What do you want to talk about? Why did you harm those nobles? This is what you dropped just now. Don't try to deny it, don't meddle in other people's business. I just cleaned up some troublemakers. Afaluo was about to continue questioning when Emma and Let arrived with guards. The guards immediately stepped forward to subdue the mysterious person. With the movement, the mysterious person's mask also fell off. Afaluo stared at the person in disbelief, her heart feeling as if it was being squeezed by a hand. How could it be Weidie? In the prison cell, hearing someone enter, Weidie looked up. Afaluo looked at this person she once trusted most, couldn't help but cry, and loudly questioned, why did you do such things? If you were being blackmailed, I would have helped you. Why did you do such things? Blackmail? How would a pampered imperial princess like you understand? Only when your empire is in chaos can my kingdom have an opportunity. Afaluo stepped back in disbelief. What do you mean? Being able to sacrifice for the kingdom is my honor. If this could make Father King look at me favorably, then it's worth it. Afaluo wanted to say more, but was harshly interrupted by Weidie. Enough! Stop meddling in other people's business. Afaluo stared at him blankly, helplessly dropping her hands. Since you say so. Take care of yourself. I'm leaving. Weidie watched Afaluo's departing figure, closing his eyes helplessly. Sorry, Afaluo. I had no choice. And Afaluo couldn't help but look back at Weidie. She absolutely doesn't believe Weidie would do such things. What exactly is he hiding from her? Afaluo returned to her room, sitting on the bed in despair. Seeing her like this, Heidi felt anxious and couldn't help but advise. Your Highness, you haven't eaten or drunk anything all day. I've prepared your favorite sweets. Please eat something. Thank you, Heidi, but I don't want to eat right now. I'm really fine. Please go out first. Helplessly, Heidi could only leave with the tray, but encountered Emma at the door. Emma said, I'll keep Afaluo company. After the door closed, Emma told Afaluo, Weidie's execution order has come down. It will be carried out tomorrow. Hearing this news, Afaluo excitedly grabbed Emma's arm. How can this be? Wasn't the trial supposed to be in 3 days? Emma soothingly pulled Afaluo to sit down. Calm down first. Originally it was, but the incident was severe. The people began to panic, and with conclusive evidence, the verdict was quickly reached. Conclusive evidence? Emma looked at her with pity. None of us wanted this, but that day at the market you also saw Weidie. Afaluo couldn't hold back anymore and broke down crying. If I hadn't insisted on going that day, things might not have come to this. It's all my fault. Am I supposed to just watch Weidie? But Emma said there's still one way. If we can find evidence proving Weidie's innocence, everything will be resolved. But tomorrow is... As long as we take Weidie away before the execution, we can buy time to investigate the truth, right? Afaluo instantly understood Emma's meaning. You mean abduct Weidie? Emma looked at Afaluo steadily, her tone resolute. Yes, abduct him. That night, Afaluo stood on the rooftop, watching the carriage transporting Weidie pass through the alley below. Recalling Emma's words, tomorrow when Weidie is being transported to the execution ground, he'll pass through this alley. It's sparsely populated here, the perfect place to act. Afaluo's expression was determined. I will definitely rescue you. She then put on her hood, concealing her face, and jumped down into the alley. The guards escorting the carriage hadn't yet noticed the approaching danger. Several vines silently wrapped around the horse's legs, controlling their movement. Enemy attack! Someone's trying to hijack the prisoner! In the chaos, Afaluo suddenly jumped out, and before everyone could react, she immediately used magic to release several purple lightning bolts. The guards trying to intercept her were all blocked together, unable to move. Afaluo took this opportunity to rush to the prison cart, trying to force open the iron bars, but this has been enchanted. Only someone with higher magical level than the caster, or someone with the key can open it. Afaluo angrily struck the iron bars. Damn it. A stern shout came from behind. Kill anyone who tries to rescue the prisoner. Several magical light waves immediately attacked Afaluo. Afaluo quickly summoned a defensive barrier to block them. Your Highness, run quickly! She's trying to kill you! But Afaluo's attitude was resolute. If we're leaving, we leave together. Seeing this, Weidie became very anxious. I'm just an unimportant object. You don't need to die for me. Very important. You're very important. So even knowing this is all Emma's conspiracy, I still must... Before Afaluo could finish, the magical barrier could no longer hold and shattered instantly. Afaluo also couldn't control herself and coughed up blood. Afaluo used her last strength to cast all her magical power. I must take you back. The guards, seeing this, all fled in fear. It looks like it's going to explode. Run! Weidie was extremely anxious but powerless to stop it. With the casting of magic, the prison cart began to crack. Then a bright light flashed, and everything around turned into ruins. So tired. Afaluo's whisper brought Weidie's attention back. Weidie saw Afaluo kneeling in a pool of blood, with blood continuously flowing from her mouth. Weidie stumbled toward Afaluo. Your Highness! How are you? Afaluo raised her blood-stained face, with electric currents still faintly surrounding it, looking seriously at Weidie as if to memorize his appearance. Weidie, I opened the prison cart, so you must live well, and remember. Afaluo wanted to continue, but the blood surging in her throat prevented her from saying more. Weidie watched Afaluo's gradually blurring figure, and could no longer suppress the sadness in his heart, screaming out in anguish. In the solemn and dignified church, Afaluo lay quietly among white roses, as if all the worldly troubles had nothing to do with her anymore. The nobles attending the funeral all wore black, and seeing this scene, they couldn't help but whisper. Now only Princess Emma remains. I heard that after His Majesty learned of Princess Afaluo's accidental death, he never received anyone again. Fortunately, Princess Emma is still here. After the funeral, everyone left. Let quietly asked Emma, Success? Emma showed a cheerful smile. Of course, they have no choice but me. I am the only heir to the empire. At that moment, a black beam of light suddenly strikes toward Emma. Let quickly blocks it with lightning reflexes, but the aftershock still grazes Emma's cheek. You lied to me! Weidie's face contorts with rage, his eyes blazing with fury as he grabs Emma by the throat. You lied to me! You even killed His Highness! You threatened me with His Highness's life, forced me to help you eliminate the nobles who opposed you, but you never kept your promise. As Weidie's grip tightens, Emma struggles to breathe, trembling as she explains, the plan went wrong. But Afaluo will surely die. Weidie violently throws him aside and Emma collapses to the ground, coughing uncontrollably. There can only be one heir to the throne, isn't that right? Weidie flies into a rage, raising his hand to kill Emma. Let quickly stops him. Calm down! Afaluo is still watching you. Weidie looks at Afaluo lying peacefully among the flowers, his mind filled with images of Afaluo's blood-stained face and her final words, You must live well. He puts on his cloak and turns to leave. The only reason you keep your life today is because of His Highness's mercy. Emma watches Weidie's departing figure in silence, then suddenly asks Let, is Afaluo really dead? Why do you suddenly ask this? Just want to confirm. I hope you haven't forgotten our goal. Never forgotten. In the cemetery, Weidie kneels before Afaluo's tombstone, slowly resting his head against the stone, his eyes gentle and devoted. Everything you ask me to do, I will accomplish. I will see all the landscapes of this world, and wait for your return. With these words, he turns and leaves. Shortly after Weidie departs, Letty arrives at Afaluo's tombstone carrying a bracelet. Inside a carriage, a young woman lies quietly, her brow furrowed with unease. Outside the carriage, people discuss recent events. I heard that after that person's death, the emperor fell gravely ill. Yes, now the empire's burden falls entirely on Princess Emma. Fortunately, the church provides assistance, preventing any upheaval, and that hostage prince who had no claim to the throne supposedly ascended to the throne with the church's help? Last month he was in a prison cart. Now he sits upon the throne. With these words, the image of a girl slowly emerges in his mind, looking at the prison cart with determined eyes. Meanwhile, Afaluo suddenly opens her eyes. Looking bewildered, was that a dream? Afaluo sits up groggily, feeling grateful. I never expected to survive, how wonderful. But in that strange dream just now, why did those people seem so familiar? Where have I seen them before? And that person? Why did I feel so heartbroken? Afaluo clutches her head in distress, turning to press the call button for a doctor. But when she looks up, she finds herself surrounded by completely unfamiliar scenery. At that moment, a short-haired maid pushes the door open. Miss Bella, you are still weak and should not remain up for long. Afaluo hears this unfamiliar name and cannot help but ask. The Bella you just called, are you referring to me? Of course there is only Bella here. Afaluo awkwardly turns her head. This is terrible. This familiar feeling. This strange decor, strange people, and a strange name. I have definitely transmigrated again. Wait, why did I say again? The maid sees Afaluo looking around in confusion, suddenly understanding. I know, Miss must still be injured. She then rushes off frantically to find a priest. Afaluo reaches out desperately. Wait! I haven't even said I lost my memory yet. She rubs her head helplessly. I can only tell her about the amnesia later. I have no idea what the current situation is. Suddenly, a childish female voice echoes in her mind. What? Master, you have lost your memory? Before Afaluo can react, a small winged fairy suddenly appears before her, startling Afaluo into retreating under the covers. What is this thing? What strange place have I transmigrated to? Why are there such bizarre creatures? The little fairy looks at Afaluo with confusion. It seems Master has truly lost her memory. She then curtsies to Afaluo. Nice to meet you. I am Lola, the book spirit of the Forbidden Grimoire. Lola frowns and sighs helplessly. It seems that explosion caused Master great suffering. Surviving is already remarkable. Forgetting some things is quite normal. Afaluo looks completely bewildered. Explosion? What explosion? I was sleeping before, and when I awoke, you were facing mortal danger. To save you, I expended most of my magical power, so unfortunately, I don't know exactly what happened either. Don't be afraid, I will use magic to help you recover some memories, hoping it will be helpful. With these words, she conjures a golden light before Afaluo. As the golden light enters Afaluo's body, her heart pounds heavily, and strange scenes slowly emerge in her mind. Are these childhood memories of this body? The status seems quite noble. Your Majesty, she's even royalty? But this surname Lamrose sounds familiar. Is this my name? Afaluo? Wait, isn't this name from the novel I was reading, Princess Training? The malicious female antagonist who gets executed in the ending? Afaluo asks in confusion. Lola, am I Bella or Afaluo? You are certainly Afaluo. Then why does that maid call me Bella? Before Lola can answer, footsteps suddenly echo from the doorway. Lola quickly disappears into Afaluo's body. At that moment, a golden-haired man enters. His first words upon seeing Afaluo, "You are not Bella." Hearing this definitive tone, Afaluo's heart skips a beat. Has she been discovered? Stay calm, just say you've lost your memory. Time to test my acting skills. So Afaluo looks at the man with innocent eyes. I'm sorry, I don't remember anything from before. The man regards Afaluo with suspicion. Is she pretending or... But before the man can question her, Afaluo leans closer and continues. Since you say I'm not Bella, you must know who I am, right? Who am I? What is this place? What have I experienced? If I'm not Bella, then who am I? As Afaluo continues her relentless questioning, the man becomes confused by her endless inquiries. I don't care who you really are, whether you've truly forgotten or are deliberately making excuses. You are now a member of the Russell family, so fulfill your duties as a Russell. With these words, he turns and leaves the room. Afaluo wonders internally. So did I bluff my way through this? Afaluo examines the Russell ducal history brought by the maid, casually flipping through it. I never expected that man to be the eldest son of Duke Russell, young Duke Creed Russell, and my nominal brother. From Julian's account, she roughly understands the current situation. 3 days ago, Duke Russell discovered her injured and unconscious during a hunting expedition, and found that she bore a striking resemblance to Bella, the Duke's daughter who had been missing for years. So the Duke brought her back and publicly declared her to be the missing eldest daughter. Afaluo looks at Bella's photograph, absolutely certain she could not be Bella. Though the Bella in the photograph indeed looks remarkably similar to her current body, Bella's eyes are blue like the Duke's, while her eyes are golden, the unique color symbolizing the Riefest Empire's royal bloodline in the novel. Afaluo clutches her head in distress. Since yesterday, whenever I think too much, I suddenly get headaches. Though this body appears healthy, it seems unusually weak. Julian picks up the teapot. The tea has grown cold. Let me get you a fresh pot. Afaluo smiles warmly as she thanks her. Julian gazes at her smile, becoming completely smitten. Miss looks so beautiful when she smiles. She then runs off happily with the teapot. Afaluo stretches drowsily, thinking to herself, since I'm here, I might as well make the best of it. I should settle in peacefully first and gradually figure things out. Suddenly, a voice interrupts. So, you're the Bella the Duke brought back? Afaluo looks up to see a woman staring at her with obvious displeasure. Seems like trouble is brewing. She asks uncertainly, you are? Living in someone else's house without even knowing who the owner is seems rather rude. Apparently, this arrogant woman is the Duke's second wife, Joanna Russell. Afaluo rises and curtsies. So, you're the madam, hello. But due to different national customs, Joanna frowns with dissatisfaction. What kind of etiquette is this? Did your amnesia make you forget even such basic courteous manners? Ah, perhaps before losing your memory, you never knew these noble protocols. Hearing these words, Afaluo thinks with certainty she's definitely here to cause trouble. If that's the case, don't blame me for being impolite. Afaluo smiles slightly at Joanna, seeming completely unaffected by her words. Then looks at her innocently. Then surely you wouldn't mind providing some guidance on my etiquette? After all, I'm now your daughter too, aren't I? You surely wouldn't want me to embarrass the ducal house with my crude manners, would you? Could it be that in your eyes the ducal house's reputation is so worthless? Upon hearing this, Joanna freezes and quickly explains, of course not, but Afaluo presses her advantage. Or perhaps you simply don't take his grace's words seriously. Hearing the servant's whispers, Joanna seethes with anger, glaring venomously at Afaluo, but Afaluo maintains her innocent expression. Damn it, using the Duke to pressure me! But why would she think, unless... Afaluo smiles slyly at him. In that case, please have his grace arrange an etiquette teacher for me. I will certainly provide proper guidance for your etiquette, since you are someone the Duke brought back. Afaluo looks somewhat surprised. I didn't expect her to agree so quickly. Come to the reception room after dinner. Oh, and I hope your amateur etiquette skills won't embarrass us at tomorrow's banquet. After all, offending tomorrow's distinguished guest would be something even his grace couldn't protect you from. With these words, she turns and leaves. Afaluo watches her retreating figure, lowering her eyes. It seems many people in this house don't welcome me. After dinner, Afaluo practices etiquette in the reception room, balancing a book on her head with remarkable ease, as if she had repeated this thousands of times. Afaluo recalls her encounter with Joanna. Though I've never learned this world's etiquette, I instinctively performed it. Could this be muscle memory from this body? Suddenly, Joanna loudly calls her name, startling Afaluo into stumbling. Your etiquette is as terrible as mud soaked in rain, and you can't even maintain basic focus? She then signals to a nearby servant. Have her demonstrate. thinking disdainfully, "Some country bumpkin from who knows where. Let's see how long you can keep up this act." But the next second, she is thoroughly embarrassed. Afaluo balances a tall stack of books while walking with elegant poise, completely effortless. Joanna picks up her teacup and coughs to hide her embarrassment, but continues her disdainful mockery. "Absolutely terrible. Is this really the best you can do?" Afaluo doesn't expect to hear anything positive from her, so she asks a nearby servant, "Am I not doing it correctly?" "No, you're doing it perfectly." Hearing this, Joanna angrily slams her teacup down on the saucer, startling the servant. At that moment, the door opens, and a tall man enters. Afaluo silently guesses, "This should be Andrew Russell, my nominal father." Upon seeing the Duke, Joanna instantly transforms, blushing coyly as she approaches him, speaking in gentle tones. "I'm instructing Bella in etiquette practice. She's a very talented child." Afaluo thinks to herself, "That's not what you said just now." The domineering Joanna before others becomes much gentler in Duke Russell's presence. This Duke Russell is no simple man. How could such a person fail to recognize his own daughter? While pondering this, the Duke suddenly approaches Afaluo. Gently stroking her hair, "We finally meet again, my daughter." Afaluo feels somewhat awkward, weakly calling out, "Your Grace, you truly don't remember. Creed already told me you've forgotten everything from before. My poor child, those past days must have been very difficult." "I'm sorry, Your Grace. When I awoke, everything felt strange. The maid caring for me said you brought me back. But I was lying unconscious by the roadside at the time. How did you recognize me?" "Silly child, I already said God sent you back to me." But Afaluo wants to say more, but the Duke interrupts. "There are no buts. Regardless, you are now a member of the Russell family, and this cannot be changed. Has someone been filling your head with nonsense? If anyone questions your identity, they're questioning the entire Russell family." Afaluo stares at him blankly. The Russell Dukes throughout history have been important ministers of the kingdom. Such people always mean what they say. It seems regardless of what that statement means. "I must be Bella now." She smiles at the Duke. "No one has been speaking nonsense to me." Joanna suddenly takes Afaluo's arm, smiling brightly as she explains to the Duke, "Oh my, I must have been too anxious, making Bella misunderstand. I'm sorry, Bella. I was just worried that if you forgot noble etiquette, you might feel uncomfortable before that person tomorrow." Afaluo smiles on the surface while mentally rolling her eyes. How hypocritical. "I see, so you're helping her practice etiquette because of that." "Bella just returned. Don't be too strict with her. I also forgot to tell you, a very important person is coming tomorrow. Since you just returned, I won't force you to meet them. The new Emperor of the Serenity Kingdom. His Majesty Weidie Seplo." Afaluo's eyes widen in shock. Isn't this the hostage prince who was bullied by Afaluo in the novel? Learning that the new emperor will visit the next day, Afaluo specifically asks Julian about the Riafest Empire. "Well, I don't know very much either." "Oh, I heard that an imperial princess died recently. Something like a something." Afaluo quietly fills in, "Afaluo." Julian immediately looks at her with admiration. "I never expected you to know so much, miss." While speaking, she pours water into the teacup, but aims poorly and spills it everywhere. Watching Julian's flustered state, Afaluo sighs helplessly. Help me back to bed. Thank you." That night, Afaluo lies in bed with her mind racing. If the villain Afaluo is already dead, then why am I still alive and waking up in a foreign ducal house? According to the latest chapter of the novel I read before transmigrating, the evil woman Afaluo had already paid with her life for her misdeeds, about to usher in a happy ending for everyone. But why did I have to transmigrate into the only person with a tragic fate? If they discover I'm still alive, what would be the fate of the evil woman who committed serious crimes? And that person was once a hostage prince bullied by Afaluo. A hostage prince driven back to his country. Someone who ascended the throne in such circumstances is likely no saint. Afaluo silently resolves, "I absolutely cannot let that Weidie fellow see me." She silently weeps. What do I do when the poor victim I bullied has become emperor? Then she gives up and flops onto the bed. Whatever, I'll think about it tomorrow. In her drowsy state, Afaluo feels herself in a strange place. Before her, a mysterious man is channeling magical power into a gemstone. Watching this scene, Afaluo feels inexplicably heartbroken, wanting to step forward, but her feet remain frozen in place. The man's figure slowly disappears into a vast whiteness. Afaluo jolts awake, breathing heavily, so it was just a dream? But that heart-wrenching sorrow doesn't feel like my imagination. Suddenly, someone taps on the window glass. Looking up, she sees a cloaked man hidden in the darkness. Afaluo regards him with some panic. "Who are you? Have I been discovered so quickly? Are you from the Empire or sent by that hostage Prince King?" But the man simply stands quietly, suddenly saying after a moment, "Interesting," then leaving only a good night. He jumps down from the balcony. Afaluo rushes out after him, but he vanishes without a trace. At that moment, Afaluo notices the man left behind a red gift box. Afaluo reads the note on the gift box, feeling somewhat puzzled. Does he know who I am? This box feels familiar somehow. Let me open it first. Inside the box is only a small gemstone. Afaluo examines the gemstone, and before she can think further, Julian's voice suddenly comes from outside the door. "See," causing her to hastily hide the box. "Miss, why are you up so early? Let me massage your head. Poor sleep can cause headaches." She moves behind Afaluo and gently massages her head. Suddenly remembering the emperor matter, Afaluo says to Julian, "I feel a bit unwell. Please tell His Grace I'll stay in my room today." Hearing this, Julian asks frantically, "Miss, where do you feel unwell? Is it serious? I'll call a priest to examine you." She turns to fetch a priest. Afaluo quickly stops her. "I'm fine. I just stood too long yesterday and didn't sleep well last night, so I'm a bit tired. It's just a minor issue. Calling a priest would be too much trouble. I'll be fine with some rest." Julian reluctantly agrees. "Very well, I'll speak with his grace." Afaluo waves cheerfully. "Go ahead. If I really call a priest, I won't be able to keep up this act." In the reception room, a servant informs the Duke of Afaluo's condition. The Duke smiles apologetically at the man across from him. "I apologize, Your Majesty. Bella just returned and is still somewhat unwell, so she cannot meet you today. No matter, your daughter's health is more important. We can meet another time." Meanwhile, Afaluo learns from a book that the gemstone comes from a specialty unique to the Rayafest Empire. Who would give such a precious gift to Afaluo, who was betrayed by everyone at the novel's end? Before Afaluo can think further, her head suddenly throbs with pain again. But this time the headache symptoms seem to have lessened. Suddenly, Julian's voice comes from the door. Afaluo smoothly hides the box in a drawer. Just then, the panicked Julian rushes in. "What happened?" "That was close. I must remember to have Julian knock first next time." But Julian looks somewhat frightened. It's Miss Scylla. At that moment, a girl, who closely resembles Joanna, enters. None other than the ducal house's young lady, Priscilla Russell. Scylla looks at Afaluo arrogantly, leaving a curt "come with me," without waiting for Afaluo's consent, then storms out again. Julian looks at Afaluo with concern. Afaluo reassures her. "It's fine. It seems today really isn't a peaceful day. I barely avoided one Weidie. And now another troublemaker appears." She asks Scylla, "What brings you to me today, Miss Scylla?" Hearing Afaluo's inquiry, Scylla glances at her coolly, mentally rehearsing her upcoming words. "What right do you have to make Cousin Let pay you special attention?" "Ah, so you like Let?" No, I can't say that. I almost got trapped into revealing something. How dangerous. Mother was right, this woman has ill intentions." Watching Scylla's conflicted expression, Afaluo wonders. "I don't think I asked anything difficult to answer." So she shifts her attention to the small cake nearby. "I'll have some cake first," giving my sister some time to think. Just as Afaluo's fork approaches the cake, Scylla suddenly speaks. "You did this on purpose, didn't you? Getting severely injured and collapsing on father's path home. How could such a coincidence exist?" Afaluo picks up a piece of cake. "You seem very unhappy about my return." She silently speculates. Bella's disappearance probably wasn't as simple as getting lost. Everyone in this ducal house has a very subtle attitude toward Bella. A sister who's been missing for years finally returns, yet your reaction is truly heartbreaking. Or do you know something, my dear sister? Scylla's whole body stiffens. "I don't understand what you're talking about." Afaluo puts on a cheerful expression, speaking lightly. "I see. Then perhaps I misunderstood. This cake is absolutely delicious." Scylla thinks fearfully. This woman is terrifying. One moment she looked ready to kill someone. Regaining her composure, she begins warning Afaluo. "The Russell ducal house isn't a place just anyone can enter. If you don't know your place, I'll make sure you suffer." In her mind, she imagines Afaluo begging her for mercy, smugly placing her hands on her hips. But Afaluo speaks flatly. "I see. As expected from a child raised with indulgence, you can only make such ineffective threats. I will quickly learn everything about being the Russell family's eldest daughter, trying not to make my sister worry about me." Scylla angrily stands up. "You're not following the script." Wanting to say something but unable to find words to refute her, she can only storm off in frustration. With the troublemaker gone, Afaluo doesn't linger and leaves the dining room. But just outside the door, she is blocked by a pair of hands. Afaluo looks coldly at the newcomer. "What do you want, brother?" Scylla was crying. "I warned you. If you want to stay peacefully in the ducal house, play the role of Bella properly and don't think about causing trouble using Bella's name." Afaluo feels somewhat impatient. "What's with everyone today? Why is everyone giving me trouble? I did nothing to her, and she was fine when she left. Why do you think someone who just woke up with amnesia would deliberately provoke your precious sister? Even if you want to defend your sister, you should understand the situation first." Hearing Afaluo's words, Creed is taken aback, indicating he will keep Scylla from bothering her. But remember, both of them speak in unison. "Play Bella honestly and don't think about causing trouble. I have a headache. I'm going back to rest." With these words, Afaluo turns and leaves. Creed watches her retreating figure, softly saying, "Rest well." Walking back to her room, Afaluo unconsciously quickens her pace. "Today is truly inauspicious. I should hurry back and rest." But at the corner, she overhears a conversation. That concludes today's business. Thank you for your efforts, Your Majesty Weidie Seplo. Hearing this name, Afaluo quickly covers her mouth and ducks behind a corner. Today is definitely not a day to go out. Taking advantage of the two men's inattention, Afaluo quickly slips back to her room. Looking out the window at the scenery, she feels restless. "I feel like something is about to happen. Is it because of that person? Could it be?" Afaluo cannot help but let her imagination run wild. Only Julian's loud calling brings her back to reality. "What do you need me for? The name Bella is so unfamiliar that I never realize when someone is calling me." Julian looks worried. "Did Miss Priscilla give you trouble?" "No, why would you think that?" Julian speaks frantically. "But you've been downcast since returning, different from being sick. Like you've lost your soul." "I'm just tired, nothing more." Julian immediately responds, "I can stay and keep you company while you rest. But Afaluo has no habit of letting others watch her sleep. So she quickly pushes Julian out. Then she sighs deeply. Collapsing weakly onto the bed, though Julian cares about me, I still need solitude right now. I need to think carefully about what comes next. The ducal house doesn't seem as peaceful as it appears on the surface. Where is the real Bella? And that person who might take my life? Afaluo rolls around on the bed in frustration. Why is it that when others transmigrate, they get to enjoy themselves? But I have to clean up this mess. In any case, I need to leave the ducal house as soon as possible. But why do I feel that hostage Prince Emperor looks familiar? Even his voice sounds familiar. He's clearly someone who never appeared in Afaluo's memories, Weidie Seplo. Thinking this, Afaluo drifts off to sleep again. In her dream, she seems to be arguing with a man. You clearly know this is a trap that person set to eliminate you. We're just one step away from exposing all the conspiracies. Why would you still take this risk? Afaluo's expression is resolute. I cannot stand by and watch him go to his death. The man's voice suddenly rises. But you've waited so long. Just because that person is him. Are you going to abandon all your previous efforts? No one believes him. Only I can save him. Only I. As lightning flashes outside the window and thunder crashes, Afaluo jolts awake, trying to calm her violently beating heart. Were those dreams just now? Or Afaluo's memories? The girl in the dream was definitely Afaluo, but I couldn't see the face of the man talking to her. The dream mentioned that person. But what conspiracy? And the name Afaluo spoke at the end, a name that came so naturally. Afaluo rubs her temples in distress. Who could it be? But as sharp pains shoot through her brain, she drowsily closes her eyes again. In her dazed state, Afaluo feels someone continuously calling her name. Opening her eyes, she sees Lola lying worriedly beside the bed. Seeing Afaluo awake, she immediately sighs in relief. Master, you're finally awake! Afaluo looks at her puzzled. Why did you suddenly come out? I sensed you becoming very weak, so I came out to check. I never expected. She suddenly throws herself into Afaluo's arms, crying loudly. If this continues, you'll die! Afaluo's eyes widen in shock. Die. Indeed, even without Lola saying so, I can already feel that while this body appears healthy, it's even weaker than my original self. Did I transmigrate here just to die again? Lola clenches her fists and promises Afaluo, I will never let you die, master. With these words, she conjures a golden beam of light in her palm. Afaluo watches this scene with curiosity. So, this is magic? Right, magic exists in this world. Perhaps there's still hope for me. But the next second, the light beam slowly dissipates, and Lola collapses from exhaustion. Afaluo quickly catches her. Afaluo asks with concern, Are you all right? Lola sadly lowers her head. I'm fine, master. It seems my magical power hasn't recovered yet. I cannot sustain using magic circles. It's okay, you've already done very well. Afaluo frowns helplessly. Even Lola has no solution. It seems my fate cannot be changed. At that moment, Lola seems to discover something and quickly darts away. Afaluo stares blankly at her retreating figure.